President Trump is trying to end collective bargaining for most of the federal workforce. He claims that having to negotiate with labor unions over workplace issues is getting in the way of his agenda. In some ways, he has a point. As NPR's Andrea Hsu reports, unions do serve as a check on presidential power.
More than half of federal employees are represented by unions, but this wasn't always the case. President Kennedy first granted federal workers the right to organize and collectively bargain in the early 1960s. The government had been seeing rapid growth, as described in a film from the era.
More than 2 million workers in more different kinds of jobs than there are in any other business, conducting the biggest business in the United States, that of your federal government.
Nicholas Handler, a law professor from Texas A&M, says at the time the government was facing a recruiting crisis.
They need scientists, economists, they need lawyers.
The government couldn't pay big salaries, but it could offer something else: stability and job protection, the right to be represented by a union.
Collective bargaining becomes an attractive tool for presidents to recruit people into the federal civil service that otherwise might be difficult to recruit.
And in 1978, Congress made it the law, asserting that collective bargaining in the civil service was in the public interest. And Handler says there was something in it for Congress, too, by giving workers a say in how they're managed.
It creates a way in for Congress and the courts to kind of police executive branch mismanagement.
Take a scenario in which a president wants to weaken a particular agency, say the Environmental Protection Agency.
A backdoor way of undermining EPA enforcement is just to make life for a bureaucrat working at the EPA really, really miserable.
Collective bargaining gives those bureaucrats a way to push back, to preserve their ability to carry out their agency's missions as Congress intended. That was the idea anyway. Now Trump says these labor rights are dangerous, that they make federal workers unaccountable. In late March, he signed an executive order ending collective bargaining at a broad array of agencies he claims have national security as a primary function. He's extended that as far as the EPA, the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Food and Drug Administration. His order faces multiple lawsuits. Already, unions have been sidelined.
Basically, we've been ignored.
Anthony Lee is president of NTEU Chapter 282, representing close to 9,000 employees at the FDA. He says the Trump administration has violated their collective bargaining agreement in numerous ways. Take recent mass layoffs. The contract says the union must get advance notice. But Lee only learned layoffs were underway when he started getting panicked calls.
My phone started buzzing at 6:30 in the morning.
Employees were finding out they were being fired while swiping their badges to get into work.
Green is go, red is stop, and it just went red, and they weren't able to enter the building.
Lee worries that if Trump gets his way, workers will lose the stability and protections that made working for the government worthwhile. He's especially concerned that scientists will lose protection from political pressure. Under the union contract, employees who review food ingredients or drugs have a right to flag safety or efficacy concerns without fear of retribution. Now, under Trump,
it remains to be seen as to whether or not they're going to allow employees to do the job that the public expects, protecting and promoting the health and safety of the public.
Now, one of Trump's repeated complaints is that unions make it too hard to get rid of poor performers. In fact, many union contracts do spell out lengthy processes for doing so. But Armando Rosario Lebron contends his union makes the government run more smoothly.
Our collective bargaining agreement is a huge efficiency boost for the government.
His union represents Department of Agriculture employees who keep invasive pests and plants out of the country. These people work a lot of overtime, and he says it's the union that manages that.
How do you divvy that up so that it's fair to all parties involved? That is probably our biggest savings to the government, and I know that a lot of managers love that.
As for poor performers, Rosario Lebron says there are plenty of times he's told someone, hey, what you did was wrong. We can't defend this. Accept the consequences.
They're more likely to listen to us.
Get rid of the union, he warns, and management will be on its own. Andrea Hsu, NPR News.
December and Christmas may be months away, but Christmas tree farmers are already hard at work preparing for the season. Thousands of seasonal workers from abroad arrive each year through a federal visa program called H-2A to help harvest everything from Christmas trees to cherries and cucumbers. The farmers who hire them want to lower the minimum wages that they can pay seasonal workers set by the federal government. Michigan Public's Michelle Jokish-Polo reports.
It's been nearly 2 months since 24 workers, most from Mexico, arrived to work at Michigan's Dutchman Tree Farms, the largest Christmas tree grower in the state. They've already planted almost 3 million seeds in the greenhouse.
So about 1 out of every 26 homes that has a real Christmas tree in the United States came from our farm.
That's Scott Powell. He's in charge of overseeing everything from Christmas tree seed selection and orchards all the way to harvest, where he's seen a lot of changes in his region.
Growing up, 30 years ago, every single high school kid trimmed Christmas trees. And it's short term, it's seasonal. And it worked really good for a lot of farmers. We're not seeing that today.
Powell says local workers for agricultural jobs are scarce, so he relies on the federal H-2A visa program to bring in temporary foreign labor. He spends about $700 per worker to bring them to the United States. Add to that housing and hourly wage increases. In Michigan, the wage rate for H-2A visa workers is over $18 an hour, and it's jumped by nearly $3 an hour since 2022. And nationwide, the rates average around $20 per hour. Chuck Connor, president of the National Council of Farmer Cooperatives, says those costs are a big barrier for farmers like Powell.
The government sets minimum wages by which you have to pay these H-2A workers in order to bring them into your region. And those minimum wages are dramatically higher than what, regular wages for other workers would be here in the U.S.
For example, Michigan's minimum wage is about $12.50. And Connor says that's one reason why so many farmers hire immigrants who don't have legal status. Over the past several years, lawmakers have floated proposals aimed at reducing or freezing wages for H-2A workers, efforts that until recently have struggled to gain momentum. But that may be changing. In February, Michigan Republican Representative John Molinar introduced bipartisan legislation to temporarily freeze H-2A wage rates through the end of next year.
This legislation would allow farmers to have a reliable and legal workforce, which is a win-win for those who grow our food and for those of us who want to keep the cost of groceries down.
Back at Dutchman Tree Farm, Jesus Estrada is busy at work prepping the fields for new growth. This is his 5th year returning to Michigan, where he works from March through December.
Haciendo esto, allá no hay para el pino, lo que es el pino, eso no. Pero allá en lo que es el campo, pues gana uno 400 pesos al día.
Estrada says back home in Mexico, he'd earn the equivalent of about $20 a day, roughly 400 pesos for field work. While he doesn't want to see wages go down, he says he'd still be willing to return even at a minimum of $15 per hour. So for him, coming to the U.S. under a temporary work visa is, as he puts it, a no-brainer. For NPR News, I'm Michelle Jokish-Polo in Grand Rapids.
Former Winthrop lawyer accuses university of racial discrimination, retaliation. The former lead attorney for Winthrop University is accusing top school officials of racial discrimination and other unlawful conduct. He wants federal investigators to intervene. Todd Haggins said he lost his job as general counsel in September for opposing discriminatory and retaliatory actions at the Rock Hill University and notifying leadership of a number of illegal activities occurring at the school. His law firm filed a complaint on his behalf with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. This is not about whether something like DEI should exist in 2025, but whether Winthrop protects blatant racism, and why, Haggins said in a news release Monday. Haggins said the EEOC requests that attorneys do not release their complaints, so his firm declined to provide a copy to the Herald. Haggins said he wants his case to join an ongoing EEOC investigation prompted by Amy Bailey, a current Winthrop employee. Bailey had publicly released her complaint, which she filed in November. Winthrop has only received one charge from the EEOC as of Thursday, according to Ellen Wilder-Bird, Associate Vice President for Communications and Marketing. Winthrop has not received an EEOC complaint from Haggins. The university denies all allegations of racism and retaliation. The described incidents were fully investigated and addressed appropriately as required by law, Wilder Bird said in a written statement. As this is an ongoing legal matter, we cannot comment further at this time. Allegations against Winthrop. Bailey accused her former supervisor, Tammy Phillips, of using a racial slur multiple times during casual conversation. Phillips is executive director of the president's office. Even though I am white, this made me very uncomfortable, Bailey said in her complaint. I had never been around someone who used this type of language before, and I was very taken aback by it. Haggins was present once when Phillips allegedly used the slur, after which Bailey sent an anonymous email to the Board of Trustees reporting the slur. Within a week, she said Phillips replaced her. Bailey reported racially charged language and retaliation to Human Resources, according to her complaint. Haggins said he was asked multiple times by University President Edward Serna to agree with ways that Phillips and Lisa Cowart, the head of Human Resources, could restructure Bailey's job and significantly reduce her responsibilities. He expressed concern, then was terminated, he said. The Board of Trustees later promoted Phillips to be their acting secretary. Haggins said Winthrop terminated him because he objected to planned retaliation against Bailey. Haggins worked at Winthrop for about a year and a half and founded the Haggins-Clark law firm after he was fired. He is a former federal prosecutor and general counsel for the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division.
So, Addie, you and I have something in common about our working lives that I think makes us pretty lucky.
All right, that sounds exciting. Maybe. What is that?
Okay. So we both have worked for only 3 organizations over the course of our careers. And I've been at HBR for 15 years now, which I think is similar to you, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of old school. I've had 3 jobs. I was at each for 12 years or more. I've been at HBR for 16 and counting.
Yeah, I think the average tenure for U.S. workers as of January 2024 is something like just under 4 years. So people are moving around a lot, and a lot of times it's not because they want to. It's because their jobs have been outsourced. It's because their company is downsizing. It's because their industry is transforming. And that's a really tough position to be in.
Yeah, look, and this is the type of problem I think we can help with. I mean, you think about your options. Do you fight to keep your job? Do you reposition your resume for different roles? Do you try to anticipate what the future job market will want? Do you sink into a deep pit of despair? We don't recommend the latter option.
Definitely not. And so that's why we wanted to bring in Whitney Johnson. She's the CEO of Disruption Advisors. She's done a lot of studies and research and counseling people on what to do when you feel that the world is changing around you and you need to adapt to fit. Her view is that we're all going to face career setbacks at some point in our lives. And so she wants to give us the tools that we need to sort of de-stress, regain focus, reset, and move forward. So let's get to it. Here is my conversation with Whitney Johnson, CEO of Disruption Advisors. Hi, Whitney.
Hello, Allison. How are you?
Let's start with the immediate aftermath of an unexpected job loss or demotion. Is there anything that you recommend people do in the first hours or days to set themselves up for success later?
The first thing is just name what you're feeling when you lose a job. Be as precise as you can. When you name something that you're feeling, you're going to be able to control it. And this is very difficult to do because career disruption can oftentimes trigger negative core beliefs, like I'm not enough. And so just the ability to say something like, I'm feeling anxious about this career disruption, instead of unnamed anxiety, this amorphous threat that you can't do anything about, you now have a defined challenge that you can address strategically and consciously. So that's the very first thing. That's the emotional side of dealing with disruption. But then you go to the functional piece. Take time to reflect. What did I learn? Even if you did lose your job, there are things that you learned in the course of being there. And so think about during that particular time, what new skills did you learn? How have you increased your capacity to work with others? Or did you learn that you need to increase your capacity to work with others? Just take time to mark the moment of what you learned. Then you can go to, what are the constraints that I'm going to have? You may need to go into the bathroom and cry, or into your bathroom in your house and cry, and just be able to name that. It's very difficult. I think give yourself grace because you're probably not going to handle it very well, and understand that. To the extent that you can, if your boss has done a good job, it won't come as a super big surprise to you. But if it does, the more you can just stay curious and just try to understand, help me understand what's happening. Why is this happening? And get as much information as you possibly can. But I think the most important thing is just to allow yourself to have the feeling that you're having.
And once you get through that visceral emotional reaction and maybe come to a place of acceptance that this is happening whether I like it or not. What do you do to then ready yourself for a job search suddenly?
So again, after you've had that opportunity to metabolize what's happened, you want to, like I started to say, take some time to reflect and just recognize, even though you lost a job, and it's going to be very easy to have this experience of this was terrible, you do want to recognize that there are lots of things that you learned and lots of experiences that you had. You developed skills, you developed as a leader. And so give yourself an opportunity to mark this moment and celebrate what you've done. From there, then you can start to think about, what are my constraints that I have going forward? How much financial runway do you have? How quickly do you need to find a job? Where do you want to live? Do you want to continue to live where you're living? Do you want a remote job? Do you want a hybrid job? What are some of those non-negotiables as you think about what comes next? You then want to very quickly audit some of your achievements, and I would hope that you've been doing that all along. So every time someone gives you a compliment of something you've done well, write it down, save that email, have a file folder so that you can bolster yourself in this point where you're feeling probably a little bit emotionally fragile and can't remember anything good that you've ever done ever. And then you want to be able to think about, what are the projects that people routinely ask you to work on, and then start to dream about what you might do differently. You then importantly, and again, this is in the succeeding probably days and weeks while you're recovering, is to think about your ecosystem and network, what you've already done, what you know how to do, what you're thinking of doing next, and then have some conversations with people you trust. So let me give you an example. I had someone who used to work for us, then went to MBA school, now is in her first, sort of post-MBA job. And she's on maternity leave, and she's thinking about what she wants to do next, and said, I'm thinking about doing X. It's a pivot. I think this would fit for me. What do you think? So getting my feedback, not asking for a job, but getting my feedback. And I was able to say to her, you know what, this makes sense to me. I think this is consistent with what I see your strengths are. And then perhaps the most important thing I would do is take all of that feedback you've gotten, the audit you've done, your strengths, and looking at your current resume, thinking, and then go into AI and say, here are all my strengths. Look at this, analyze this. You're a career development expert. What do you think might be interesting for me to do next? And use technology to help you dream about what might be possible.
It would be great if AI could scrape the internet and actually find job postings for you now, but maybe you go to LinkedIn for that.
Yeah, I think what would be interesting is that you could absolutely go to LinkedIn. So once you get that information, you can start looking through LinkedIn and just say, okay, you'd be a great project manager. See what kind of project manager opportunities are out there. And then you can take it a step further and you can say, okay, here's the profile of a project manager on LinkedIn. Take my resume, take all my strengths, and repurpose it for that project manager LinkedIn profile so that I can start to see myself in that new role or opportunity.
I love this use of technology to help in job searches. So if you know you need to move on, do you counsel people to find that new opportunity pretty quickly, or is it better to be more deliberate, even if it means a lot more uncertainty and probably tighter finances?
Allison, I think it really depends. The biggest challenge that you have when you lose a job is it gets in your head. It really gets in your head. There is a massive, for anybody who's ever been laid off, that psychologically you have to manage that. The more methodical you can be, as we just described, the better. But you also at the same time need to be very cognizant, vigilant around your head game and be thinking about and be aware of what limiting beliefs are coming up. So this is probably more than any other time. You may need to go to therapy. You need to go back to a coach in order to say, okay, I know how to do the work of looking for a job and what I might need to do next. But how do I keep my head in a place and a space where people will want to hire me and they won't sense that I'm desperate?
Yeah, so there is that cliche that it's much easier to find a new job when you're still in your old job. Mm-hmm. And if that's the case, how do you break through, especially when it might be a time that lots of people have been laid off with your same skills?
So I think that once you're managing the emotional aspect of this, which we've addressed, One of the ways that you're going to break through, and an expression that I frequently find myself using, is surprise and delight. So you and I have both had experiences where people come say to us, I want to work for you, Allison, or I want to work for you, Whitney, and here are all the reasons why this job would be amazing for me. If you can instead say, all right, here are my skills. Here's what I do well. Here's the problem that you are trying to solve. Here's how I can help you solve it. Here's what I bring to you, and you're willing to act as if you're already on the job and surprise and delight people, you're going to break through every day of the week, because most people don't do that. And when you do it from that place, it's not a place of desperation. It's a place of confidence. It's a place of, I have something to offer that would be very valuable to you, and here's what it would look like.
Yeah. What about breaking through that initial resume screen that now maybe is done by AI? Is that about activating your network?
I never, ever, ever recommend someone try to get a job through an initial resume screening. I think it's just very tough. You have to figure out the algorithm and how to game the system. And I think people probably do get get jobs that way. Games, it is a game. Game of Thrones, probably. But I do think that you're much better off. That's where you're going to activate your network, and which goes into the question of, do you have a network to activate?
And if you don't, how do you get one quickly?
Yeah, I think you start with where you are. Everybody has some kind of network. And so how do you start with where you are and have that conversation and say, here's what I'm trying to do. What do you think? Do you know anybody that I could talk to? And start there.
Yeah, even if it's your former colleagues who, have enjoyed working with you and feel bad that they've kept their job and you've been laid off.
Mm-hmm.
How do you counsel people who find that their disruption is really dragging on and then starting to feel just more and more stressed about it? So that initial emotional response that they've calmed down, the further it goes, the more it comes back. I ask because I've had friends in this situation, and it's not just the person who's lost their job, it's their parents and their spouses and even their kids. It filters down and it becomes really tense.
For everybody, because they're worried about them, and then possibly money becomes an issue.
Yeah.
So I would say there's a dual track here, Allison. There's the one track, and I know I keep talking about the emotional aspect of it, but I think that this is so vitally important, and we don't think about it and we don't talk about it enough, that when you have lost your job and you're looking for a new one and it's dragging on and on and on, I think sometimes that is trying to get your attention, that you need to pivot. So I think in order to manage that, I know from my own experience, you need a coach or you need a therapist. There are things that you need to do in order to be able to manage the process. From there, I would say when it's dragging on and on, there's a product market fit. So in terms of what you want to do and what you're trying to get done and it's not working, sometimes you're much better off saying, okay, if this isn't working, the market's giving me information. What information is it giving me? It may be that there aren't any jobs. It may be that actually what I'm best at isn't a fit for what opportunities I'm looking at. So be willing to say, okay, some of this is outside of my control, but what's within my control and what is the market telling me? And maybe I need to pivot and get more feedback of what my strengths actually are. And maybe I need to disrupt myself and not take a job at the level that I once was, step back, take one, a notch below to get in, to get my confidence up, to make money. So then I can move on from there. And at the same time, recognize, okay, this really stinks and this has been really hard. What am I going to learn from this so that I can be more effective in the future?
I also know people who, during their time off, particularly if they've gotten any sort of severance, will use that time to take classes, build new skills so that their resume looks stronger. And that sort of leads into my next question is, how should people talk about resume gaps when that period of unemployment has lasted longer than you would like?
The best possible thing you can do is to name it. So this has been longer than I expected, but let me talk you through, number one, all the things that I've learned during this time time period, whether it's skills. Sometimes, for example, this may not be a layoff, but if you, for example, were at home to care for an aging parent or caring for children, there are lots of things you learned in the process of wrangling children or trying to navigate the healthcare system. So there are going to be some things that you learned in that process. I think also if you can talk about how being in this period of not having a job has transformed your thinking. What have you learned? What meaning have you made of this? So that you're able to help people see that you're thinking strategically, thoughtfully, and then coming back to the value creation. Okay, here I was, here's what I learned, and here, because of all these things I learned during this period, I can create value for you today that I probably couldn't have created for you 6 months ago because of this experience that I had. So you're not running away from it. You're not hiding from it. You're not shamed by it. But again, this goes to the head game that you're doing. You're saying, I had this experience. Here's what I learned. And here's the value that can be created because of it.
So we know that particularly in this volatile climate, this is happening to people at all different stages of their careers. Do you advise people differently based on, where they are in life?
Yes, I do. Absolutely. So but it's not so much where they are in life in terms of age. It's more of their situation. So for example, if you have someone who basically is saying to you, okay, I just lost my job and I have 3 months and then I don't have any money, then my advice is you need to go find a job now. And you probably need to do a job that's even one rung lower than where you are, because if you run out of money, you will start to freak out. And you can't freak out, because if you start freaking out, you can't think strategically anymore. So your number one priority is just to say, okay, I've got 3 months of severance. I need to find a job ASAP, figure out what that is. So that's a big constraint, and you solve for that constraint. If you are in a position where maybe you're very young, just basically out of school, you're living at home right now, doing a remote job, and you've got a little bit more time, then I say, okay, use this time to really think about what do I want to do next and how am I going to position myself, etc. I would say also, if you've got someone who's more toward the end of their career and thinking about what do I actually want to do, I'd say take some more time. Think about how you're really going to align to your values. Go to a place of an encore career. And the big constraint here usually is financial, and you've got to operate within that constraint. But the first principle here would be, what do I need to do so that I can stay in a place where I can think rationally and logically? And then whatever it is you need to do to make that happen, then that's probably how much time you have.
So I know we're talking about unexpected disruptions, but are there preemptive steps that any of us, maybe especially people in riskier industries or ventures, should take to be ready in case the worst does happen?
I would say a number of preemptive things you can do is obviously be continuously collecting skills and relationships. I remember having a conversation with Sandy Stelling a few years ago. She was at Alaska Airlines for several decades, and she was continually building expertise across the organization. So, IT and then airport services and maintenance, oftentimes they didn't make any sense of what she was doing, but it made her invaluable across the organization, so that when industry disruptions came, which come all the time in airlines, she was a go-to player within that organization and could have probably gone to lots of other places. I think that from a mindset perspective, if you're willing to do the hard work of changing your assumptions about yourself, so be aware of those limiting beliefs, when disruption comes, you'll not only be okay, but say, okay, how is this going to be an opportunity for me? Absolutely create the financial runway. So save money, build wealth, spend less than you earn, so that you are in a position when that happens to say, all right, this isn't good, but we will be able to manage this. And then I would say build out your network of people that you can really rely on, so that when you need, again, back to, it's a lot easier to get a job if you already have a job. It's a lot easier to ask people for help if you've already been in relation with them. So when you're going to ask for that help.
Yeah. You've mentioned pivots a couple times, and I know that you're a fan of disrupting yourself. So could these unexpected, unwanted disruptions be a good time to make that happen? You know, switch careers, try a passion you've always wanted to pursue. Or is that adding too much additional risk to an already fraught situation?
I think it depends. Certainly when this happens, you have this opportunity to reflect on what you want to actually do. And so you can reset, and the opportunity cost is lower. So if you think about from a disruption standpoint, you know, on the y-axis of success, if you were at a 12 and you had to go down to a 10 of your own volition, you might not do it. But now that you're already here, then you're more likely to do it. So I think it's absolutely easier. Again, there are these constraints that you have, but here's what I would say in my experience, Allison, and this is maybe a research study that HBR should do someday, is that when people have lost their jobs, frequently, if not almost always, they felt like it was no longer the right job for them. They felt it like somewhere deep in their soul. They felt like this isn't the job for me anymore. And they were hesitant to move for a variety of circumstances. And so the universe sort of gave them that nudge. And so once you've gotten that nudge, once you're already here, once you know you need to do something different, if you possibly can, this is the perfect time for you to say, what do I really want to do with my life?
Yeah, reframing it as an opportunity. We used to have a feature called Crucible that sort of was people undergoing very difficult things and sort of how they came out the other side. And nearly everyone says, oh, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I was able to make this change that I never would have made otherwise. Now, of course, when you're in the moment, it doesn't feel like an opportunity, but you can see how long term it might end up for the better. Is it your sense that career disruptions like these are becoming more common just because the contract between sort of employee and employer has changed?
That's definitely a factor. I think it's also a factor that disruption is accelerating. So I do think it's more common. At the same time that it's more common, I think that's where the opportunity is. So yes, skills are going to become more obsolete. The contract between worker and employer has changed. But if you can learn really quickly, and AI can help you learn really quickly, and if you can learn to work with people, because I think with the pace of change accelerating, emotional dysregulation is going to get exacerbated. So if you can work with yourself, as I keep talking about, and you can work with other people, you're actually going to become more valuable. So it's an interesting paradox because, yes, I think career disruptions are going to happen more, but if you're willing to learn fast and learn about yourself and work with other people, you will become even more valuable than you were before you were disrupted.
It's tough because I'm someone in particular who's sort of a creature of habit. I liked that I've only worked basically at two places my entire career. And so I'm someone who sort of doesn't feel ready for that kind of world where there's sort of an expectation that you're constantly going to move jobs because your business is being disrupted or your industry is changing or federal policy is changing. How does someone who is less adaptable move into this new future?
What I have found is that it is important. I mean, part of it goes to you decide if you think it's important to be adaptable. I mean, you may decide it's not that important, and some people will, and that's okay. But if you decide that it's important to be adaptable, but you say to yourself, I really like my job, I don't want to change jobs, but I do need to develop this muscle a little bit more. What I have found is that it's really a good practice to put yourself in a position of trying to do new things. So sometimes people will ask me, so what are your hobbies? And I think my hobby is trying new things because I want to develop that muscle of being able to be adaptable. So like last Christmas or a year ago, I took surfing lessons. And I will tell you, I was absolutely thrilled when I saw myself get up on a surfboard. It wasn't very good. It didn't matter because I was doing something new and building that muscle. So I would say for someone who says, you know what, I really like my job. I don't want to change jobs, and I feel like I'm adapting enough within the strictures of the job itself. But I know this muscle is important. Then find other ways and other parts of your life to flex that muscle, so that if it does come, you are prepared. And I would also argue, Allison, that everybody has disruption in their life. Maybe it's not on the professional front, but it's probably on the personal front. So how are you exercising that muscle regardless of where you are, so that you do have that ability when you need it?
And as I said, you are a big fan of people disrupting themselves so that they can learn and grow in different roles and industries, and certainly get ready for this fast changing business world that is in front of us. But when things do feel uncertain and unstable, should we still be doing that, or should we wait while things are calm and then wait for the disruption to happen and disrupt ourselves then?
You know, sometimes people will ask me the question, like, can there be too much disruption? And I think the answer is absolutely yes, there can. I continually think about, the sweet spot of, like, something needs to be hard but not too hard, and easy but not too easy. And you've heard me talk about S curves and having a portfolio of S curves. And what I find is that you want to balance that portfolio with most of your life in this sweet spot where it's hard but not too hard, easy but not too easy. You want to have some places where you feel pretty anchored, like, I feel comfortable, I know what I'm doing, I'm an expert at this, I've lived in the same house for a long time, whatever it is. But at any given time, you want to have something that is kind of pushing you a little bit. It's a little bit hard. It's a little bit out of your comfort zone. So the answer to that question, Allison, would be, is if you've got too much disruption, there's too much change happening in your life, you do want to look for an opportunity, a way for something that will anchor you, so that you're in balance from a seesaw perspective.
It also strikes me that people in sort of disruptive situations at work, I'm thinking like a merger that might end up in a redundancy that leaves you laid off, or a reorg that might push you towards a demotion. Those are also opportunities for people to say, okay, if I'm on the chopping block, what could I do? What could I put my hand up for to add value to this rapidly changing organization?
Yeah, absolutely. And
it's like you head off the disruption or the shock.
Right. You see it coming and you say, all right, so this is about to go away. I want to stay at this organization. So how could I take my skills, my abilities, reconfigure them, and take that initiative? What problem needs to be solved in the organization? I think I find it fascinating, Allison, because we know to do that. Like, go solve a problem. And yet so often we get to this place of learned helplessness. And so why are we not solving the problem? But yes, absolutely, you can head that off. This is going away. This over here needs to happen. I've got these skills. I can solve this for you. Now, sometimes organization won't let you, but that mindset will serve you well, whether it's at your current organization or a new organization.
It gets you energized and puts you in a more optimistic mood where you're thinking about what you can do instead of what you can't do.
Absolutely. And whatever you focus on, you get more of.
Well, Whitney, thank you so much for talking to us about this topic. I know that there are a lot of people potentially struggling right now, and so hopefully this will give them some advice and hope going forward.
Thank you.
That's Whitney Johnson, CEO of Disruption Advisors.
The most important thing to remember, in Gus T's humble opinion, is that white people do not get fired. Context of white supremacy. Gus T. Renegade in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the global system of white supremacy. Today's date, Thursday, May 15, 2025. So I have been told. Our weekly broadcast, Neutralizing Workplace Racism, not for spectators. Particularly not for spectators, if you have figured out, I don't have to sit around here and be biting my nails, nervous, Oh, Wendy Johnson, they about to fire me. The universe is sending a message. My swipe card didn't work this morning. You don't have to do all that. You don't have to do all that. I am valued. What do I say all the time? I am a valued employee. I don't have to prove my value. I got gaps in my I don't have no gaps in my resume. Leroy is worth something. See? I get all my raises. I go in for my performance whether I get semi-annual reviews, evaluations of my performance. Sparkling. Every time. I don't know how we've ever had a company without your involvement and participation, Leroy. That's what they say. Ain't no way we could have an organization without you here, Leroy. You better not ever leave. Ever, ever, ever. You get all of your bonuses. Of course, you are compensated like we can't run this company without you. You don't have to go and fight them. Y'all cheated me out of my paycheck and I didn't get all the nickels I was supposed to. You don't ever have no trifling nonsense like that. They don't come and sabotage your work, sabotage your calendar and all that old trifling. I am valued. Swipe card work every day. How did you do this? Let us know. You sound like the folks who are hosting that HBR segment. Say, I don't do all that moving around. I've been working here at HBR for 16 years. Sound like they've been context of white supremacy. I've been hanging out since Obeezy first got elected. I don't do all that hopping jobs and switching, flipping, pandemic come, got work for that. I'm stable, chilling. If you, as a victim of racism, you figured out how to accomplish that in your career, please share. We are begging. Don't you sit around laughing, snickering at us, all our troubles in the workplace, fired, can't get a raise, demoted, wage theft, all the rest of it, sexually harassed. You sitting around snickering at us. I don't have to do it all them po niggers. I don't have to do none of that. Share. Maybe we can replicate what you've done in the workplace. The number to dial, 605-313-5164. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Number again, 605-313-5164. The code 564-943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email, untiljustice@gmail.com. If you do not want to be identified, think they might recognize your voice, you want to remain anonymous, you either have suggestions how we can get that workplace set up, we're not harassed, they don't thieve our wages and what have you, we are a valued, priceless employee of the organization, drop us an email and share a few tidbits. Or if you're having difficulties and what have you, would like some of our counter-racist input on how you can solve problems without creating new problems, let us know. The number again, or the email, untiljustice@gmail.com. A few things before we get to one. We'll do the audio segments and then folks who wrote in called in. So, man, busiest month of the year for Gus T. Springtime, May 2025. So, the Seattle International Film Festival starts tomorrow. Actually, it starts today. They've had pre-festival events and all that stuff going on the past few weeks, especially for the cool folks like Gus T with VIP privileges or at least a press pass. All kinds of goodies been going on. But for real, the festival starts tomorrow. So as opposed to hanging out with you all like the regular nerds reading a book on a Friday, I'm going to the Seattle Film Festival all day long. I had originally planned to do the book club still because we finished Abraham Bolden's book last week. New book. I'd already picked the book and everything. I was ready to roll. then the folks at the film festival, I told you they were sabotaging us on the sneak maybe. They contacted me last week, that pro press department just for contact press people like myself, and said, hey, Gus T, did you know they're having festival events during the time of the book club? Even some of the activities might even be related to racism. Now, they didn't include the book club part, but for sure, films related to racism that I had missed. No book club tomorrow. Gus T doing 4 films on a Friday, which is totally exhausting. I guess if it was like, I don't know, Harry Potter, Marvel's Black Panther, something goofy, where you didn't have to take it that serious, maybe it would be, get in my Ryan Coogler, this is the way we go. Maybe it would not be too difficult. But man, when you are going to watch from last soundtrack to Coup d'etat and other films that are in different languages and they're all about white supremacy, racism, it is a little more effort on the brain computer. So no book club tomorrow, and I don't even know if we're doing the compensatory call-in on Saturday because I'm going to see 3 films on Saturday. Matter of fact, can't do it on Saturday. Can't do it Saturday because, what are you doing Saturday? White supremacy, racism, and black farmers. No compensatory call-in on Saturday either. Now, I had thought, since all of the films, and I mean all, Miss Sheena Scarborough had the audacity, said, you get to take a break from all of this and go to the film festival. Says, contraire, mon frere, contraire. There is never a break from the system of white supremacy racism. And I said, Exhibit A, you just heard, Miss Scarborough, maybe listeners as well, you just heard Natia Taylor. She was a guest on the program in Milwaukee. She was at the Milwaukee Film Festival. Did that sound like a break from racism? What's her documentary? Something in the water, something in the Negra's water. Now, what kind of vacation is that? Like just get my gummy beans, my jelly beans, my chocolate-covered popcorn, and go sit at the theater and look at all the poison black people. I already told you the racism against the black farmers. It's racism on the big screen. That's all it is. And plenty of it. But we might do short little updates, do reviews as I'm moving through the festival, but some short little updates as to, oh, wow, what did you see at the festival? What type of racism? What country? That sort of thing as we kind of move through all of the events and such. But I can only say definitively, I think the only day where I'd say, yes, we should be back to nope, book club shouldn't be next week either because I should be at the movies then too. So the book club, at least the next 2 weeks, not on Friday. Neutralizing Workplace Racism, will that be on next? Neutralizing Workplace Racism might be on next week. I'll double check. I'll know for sure as we get there. So Neutralizing Workplace Racism might be on. We'll have to see. And then the wackiness of the month, the festival, the last day of the festival is the 25th. I am flying to Milwaukee on the 26th, holiday. And then the trial starts on the 27th in Milwaukee. Total disruption for the month. We will be broadcasting for the trial daily, so there will be no mystery. You'll be able to hear, what did you hear in the trial? And daily trial updates once all that kicks off May 27th. So nothing really. It will just disrupt the schedule because we'll be broadcasting from the trial and what I heard there as opposed to just the normal schedule. But looking forward, first time covering a murder trial live and in person. So major changes to the scheduling for the next couple of weeks, at least until we get through the end of the Sade Robinson murder trial. Stay tuned, check social media for updates and such as we mosey on through. I even update from the film festival as I see things and, what stood out, the racism, all that good stuff. Now, the audio segments that we heard at the beginning of the broadcast today. We heard, first of all, about the President Trump's efforts to weaken federal unions so that he said you don't have to get into all these brawls and battles with federal employees so we can get more things done. I would think that's still going to impact, even though you have a long history of black people being excluded from unions and not allowed to participate. Some of that's in Invisible Man, Ralph Ellison, that we read. Even still, that sort of thing is probably not going to aid black people. Even I remember Mr. Fuller talking about how the union representatives wouldn't really be that helpful for him on his days in the job and what have you. Long-running theme in the system. Anything where you might have resources to aid workers and assist them with problems, wage theft, prevent them from being fired unjustly, anything like that. When you start removing those protections, it's going to be really bad for black people, as you've already seen with the federal employee layoffs and terminations and such. Lots of black people throughout the country in those cuts, losing their jobs and or on that anxiety list. What we gonna do? What we gonna do? That sort of thing. So more, if anything, that would be further evidence of why I say pay attention, check the news, see what's happening. Those sorts of changes, if you have a federal job and you didn't get fired, if you do have a union, what sort of impact would that have on our job? You know, in terms of ability for us to go in, see if we can get better wages, see if we can get safer work conditions, benefits, shorter hour, whatever, you know, lots of things. That would be something to think about, something I'd want to be aware of in advance, not finding out kind of late down the road. The segment that they had on the H-2A visa program, and they were talking about farmers, racism against black farmers, going to see that, but they were talking about white farmers, places like Michigan, probably here in Washington State too. Said, oh man, we got these seasonal workers, man, you know, you can't be paying all this extra money for minimum wage and all the rest of it, man. The rest of the minimum wage is all low, and oh man, it's ruining our business, man. And they got Pedro, Gomez, rest of these folks coming up from Mexico, so they make $20 a day in Mexico, so you betcha I'm gonna come up here, Michigan. Can you imagine coming from Mexico to Michigan in the wintertime? Who out there, have you been to Detroit in December? Even November? Jesus Christ, it is so cold. Oh my God, that's like a whole new wardrobe. You got to be coming mess around Ann Arbor after Thanksgiving, and we're outside. Oh God, for Christmas trees, jolly old Saint Nick, white Jesus' birthday. Come on. And then they'll sit around and say, and it'll be lots of folks, oh my God, we got old raping Felipe. We got old raping Gomez up here hopping the border and here illegally. And oh, we need to get them all out of there. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, you got all these white folks. He just said, oh, wait a minute. Whoa. Now we got to get these Christmas trees out now. Wait a minute. I hate all the raping Gomez just like everybody else. Now, wait a minute. We got these Christmas trees. I got to get out the ground now. Wait a minute. I told y'all, white people do more lying. That's Fuller again. They play both sides. They'll come out and we got to get these immigrants. I'm with it. Get the ICE folks. Oh, we got to get the ICE people and get them on. Wait a minute. Wait, can we get the strawberries picked first? Maybe we can get all the bok choy. Make sure you get all the bok choy. But we got the asparagus okay, so we get the asparagus, the bok choy, the strawberries, and the Christmas tree. You let all of our brown folk, even if they undock, you let all of them get all the produce out, because I'm going to want my Christmas tree come December. And then we let the ICE folks, you chomp on them and throw them on over, throw them someplace, send them to Rwanda, wherever we're going to send them. But yeah, make sure we get my Christmas tree out first, because we don't want the Christmas, drop off. That is lame and racist as can be. And well, why did things change? They said back in the day, we used to have little white people. It had to be white people because they didn't have no Leroy up in Michigan, especially in the rural parts of Michigan, out there working on the Christmas tree farm. Get out of here. So we got all the little white folks, little boys and girls. They would come and do this work. They don't do that now. New era. Why not? Why can't you get, college, white students, teens, white high schools, students and such? Why can't they come do that as summer work? What happened? They're not willing to do that work anymore? PS5, man, I'm trying to do all that. I'm not gonna do that. that's nigger work. I don't do that. I don't plant no Christmas trees. I'm not digging up no Christmas tree. Now you get some of them dark people to do that. I don't do that. WTF, man. WTF. I don't celebrate no holidays, so I'm not going out to dig up no Christmas trees neither. Get sap all over your hand. Nah, let's see. The report Winthrop College, where they had the allegation that Tammy Phillips, suspected racist, she had made all of these so-called casually racist comments when they were in the meetings, presumably on campus, college-related or whatever, saying racial slurs and all the rest of it. Man, in this day and age, woo, they got the watch. We were just talking about, they got the watches that transcribe everything that's said. People got, audio recordings instantaneously. I would just want a record. We don't have to jump up and down and all this. You can just record. Old Tammy Phillips, May 12, 2025. Niggers out in the yard eating KFC. Write that down. Niggers bring in all the watermelon for lunch. Write that down. It wouldn't even matter if they fire her or don't fire her, because if she's that casual, it must be lots of folks who talk like this, think like this. Like, I'm sure she didn't just start doing that in 2025. So I would just write it down. It wouldn't even be, for me, that wouldn't be something where I got to jump up and down. What did you say, Tammy? I will go upside your head. Who are you talking? Who do you think you are? Do you think? Man. If anything, it might just be, Tammy, could you repeat that, please? I didn't get the, okay. The niggers with the water. Okay, thank you. What's next on the meeting? If that. Like I said, because if you got one of them watches that's got, you automatically know you're going to have a transcription of that. You don't even need to say anything. You just know, hope the audio is good. We got the clear transcript. Keep it moving. I would stack, because you could stack up a bunch of those. And then, is this professional behavior? Is this the way that we're supposed to talk in the meetings? Because you're just asking questions. You're not asking for anybody to be fired, terminated. You're not calling anybody a racist. Just, is this the way that we're supposed to conduct ourselves? This in the student handbook, because this is a college, university, and see what they say. They might DEI, because they said Tammy Phillips, when the young lady non-white went to report about Tammy Phillips, they said there was retaliation, which is about what you can expect. And I've heard that before at colleges, universities, where somebody says something like that, and I don't like no niggers, and we got all these raping niggers from Mexico and swimming niggers from Puerto Rico or whatever. And somebody goes to say something about that, and they fire the person who said something, or demote them, or both, wage theft, whatever it is. They move their office and put them like in the storage bin in the basement, something like. I've heard lots of that. So that would be about what to expect. Not the white person getting in trouble for practicing racism, you getting in trouble for trying to snitch on a white person. Now, the last report, like I said, it's been some years, play reports from HBR, Harvard Business Review, their podcast where they talk about things in the workplace. Sometimes they'll talk about racism, not often. They've talked about a wealth of subject matter, all related to labor. Generally, when I listen, I feel so much better about the cows and our efforts. No difference with this time around. So they have Whitney Johnson on the broadcast as the guest, white woman. She's so-called CEO of Disruption Advisors. When you get fired, terminated, laid off, unexpectedly, presumably white people, what do you do? Now, the major thing, they did not include, it is such a substantial difference in being terminated as someone classified as white and being terminated as a non-white person. I was even going to put Fuller in saying, hey, white people do not get fired, they get transferred. Now, I'm sure there are some white people, even, with the Trump firings and everything, where they've been, oh my goodness, I can't believe that happened. What are we going to do? I lost my IBF benefits. I'm sure there's some of that. I'm sure of that. But man, You can deal with all of that. Even if you lose your IVF access, you can deal with all of that way easier if you know all of this cronyism and all of this nepotism. I'm not going to be out of a job that long. I know my cousin and nephew and uncle and brother-in-law, somebody will hook me up. I don't even have to be able to spell. I can be illiterate. It doesn't even, they will hook me up, get me in the door. We've heard so much of that, it's just, it is substantial, and particularly because being fired unexpectedly, you can be fired as a non-white person unexpectedly where you were doing the correct thing. You don't have nothing to do with Trump. You don't have nothing to do with Doge, Elon Musk. Way before all of that, you could be just classified as black. I'm out here doing my job. President Obama, he just got hired. What they say? We want to see him fail. He ain't done nothing. I just got here. We want to see him fail. So you can be a non-white person and get fired. Like, it is way, and be thinking, you have all those concerns, and when am I going to run out of money? Can I pay my bills and my children? Oh my gosh, I'm married, and oh my gosh. Remember, all the rest of them, they don't give black people IVF, so we don't have that concern. But still, all that anxiety, and then you get fired where you didn't even do anything wrong. You start questioning yourself. They talked about the brain, how you're thinking about all this, the psychology once you've been fired. Like, man, the psychology for a victim of white supremacy is astronomically different. I may even say astronomically worse. We start doing all that questioning. Was it me? Because you don't have aunts. I can't even, it's embarrassing me to think of a black male, any relative. You're going to have black male uncles. You're going to have black male dads. You're going to have black male brothers. You're going to have black male cousins. You're going to have black male nephews that can get you a job. They're going to have some sort of Negro cronyism, Negro nepotism to get you a black job. Are you serious? Maybe you got a cousin, an uncle in the penitentiary. They can get you on a laundry assignment, maybe. But it's way different being fired and, did I do something? Maybe I was messing up. Maybe I need to get better clothes. I was probably being a little niggerish, and all those other questions. You go, Fuller told us, you go to unemployment and sit in the office with off the wall. Am I going to run out of check? You see the white people come in and they get jobs quick. They get jobs quick. They get jobs quick. And me and off the wall just sitting here. It's a way different psychology being fired as a victim of white supremacy. They didn't address none of that. That said, I would say some of those tidbits maybe could be adapted, maybe for victims of white supremacy. The audit of your achievements and accomplishments, that part I think we could borrow. And she said, that's something you should be doing before you get fired. That I think some of us have even hinted at previously. Workplace, you get commendations or people point out specifically, single you out in a constructive way for things that you do well. Bang. You can even add that in on your resume. It doesn't even have to be such and such said on such and such date, such time, but just that can be added in. Like, oh yeah, I am super proficient, competent at, whatever it is, outstanding at customer service, recognized, you can even put in that, use that phrasing, recognized for my competence and proficiency at, typing or whatever it is that you do where people compliment and recognize you for your skill. Add that to the resume. You might not even been thinking about that. If you did get a citation or something, for sure, you've been, employed there for 10 years or whatever. I'm not on that 4 years and moving around. I've been here stable, come in every day. Boom, you can add that to your, file or whatever, and you go applying for new jobs. But absolutely audit, look at your achievements. They included putting in your resume achievements, interests, putting all that into AI and letting them pick out possible jobs, careers for you. That is fascinating. I would not have thought of that at all. I don't know. Do we have folks who've done that? Have you had success with that? Like what sort of result did the results, come back and seem, that might work. Wow, I hadn't considered that. That fascinating times with the technology, especially if they're younger people perhaps. If you've done that, let us know what that experience was like and if it was beneficial. The segment where she talked about, this is Wendy Johnson, she said, audit your financial runway, meaning from the moment, Leroy, you've been fired, get on out of here. How much money do you have before you are totally broke? Pick that out, and that's one you want to see. You are preparing to keep that runway as long as possible, being frugal, not looking to be going out to dinner every week and every day and just wasting money on frivolousness and NBA playoffs. I got to go and get me some tickets and get me a new wardrobe and get me a fly hat so I can be like Simone Biles at the Kentucky Derby and save. We are squirreling away every nickel we get, squirreling, saving. So you get fired unexpectedly, as opposed to having a 1 month runway, like, oh my God, I'm going to run out of money in 4 weeks. I've been squirreling, save, squirrel, save. Got a 6 month runway. Hey, still going to be nervous because the race soldiers might keep you unemployed for 6 months, but a little bit more. Sometimes that can mean all the difference in the world. Having 6 months to polish that resume and do all those interviews and get through all of that, and bang, now I got that job, as opposed to 1 month, 3 months. Squirrel, save, frugal, we being victims of white supremacy, and regardless really of what your income bracket is, we are in a save mode, squirreling those resources away. Anyway, just last thing I'll say on that segment, I had to make sure I included at least some of that because I just said before, as victims of white supremacy, I think, and that's why I said they didn't really address that. And most of the times when they have segments on HBRcast, they do not accurately discuss racism. Sometimes they don't even mention it at all. Segment like that. Man, as a victim of white supremacy, we can be fired at any time. We cannot be thinking, I'm just going to mosey into a career where I get to hang out, like they said, 15 years, 16 years, where I've been on the same job, chilling. You cannot, if you get that, that's great, but that is abnormal. That is not what racists have in mind for non-white people, unless it's, I've been working at McDonald's, making chicken nuggets for 15 years, something like that. I'm working at 7-Eleven cleaning the Slurpee machine for 15 years, something like that. And unless it's some low grade, low skill, low pay. They have Gomez. I've been coming up to Michigan to do seasonal produce work for 16 years, that sort of thing. You can do stable in that type of job where you barely making it or not making it at all. But in terms of a really quality career where you're learning and making a great salary and benefits and can really do something productive with your life, we burn what Fuller say, we burn midnight oil thinking how we can get Leroy out of here. So, and Lakeisha, so have that in mind. I could be fired. That's why I say you have to talk to your children too. I could be fired at any time. Any black person, we could be fired at any time. Trump even said that we got to get rid of these regulations. We got all these unions and making it difficult. And we can't even get business. I'm like, nah, some of these folks need to be fired. Like right now, I got a whole list of them right now we can get rid of. See, that is the system of white supremacy, racist. You can be sold down the river at any moment for any reason or no reason at all. So have that in mind and do as much as it. Not that it's not going to still have a big psychological impact. I mean, you got to have money on the plantation, but that, I think, helps to mitigate that immediate, I did something wrong, I effed up, I did something to deserve this. And sometimes you'll even have other non-white people who will come in and, you know, you dressed up, Leroy. I seen you. You've been going to work, sneaking mad dog in on the job. I seen you. You know you deserved it. I guess sometimes that's the case, but overwhelmingly, no, Leroy was not sneaking mad dog in his lunchbox. overwhelmingly, white people were practicing racism, white supremacy, period. Anyway, if folks have any tips, suggestions, have your thoughts. Was Wendy Johnson, was she giving us some nonsense? How about she went surfing and they don't let black people get in no water? Get out here and go surfing, please. But if you thought Wendy Johnson had anything constructive to share about being fired abruptly and losing that job, how you try to explain away those resume gaps and such, you can let us know. And or if you just have your own situations in the workplace, problems and or triumphs, let us know. The number is 605-313-5164. The code 564-943#. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. You can also dial 720-716-7300. The code still the same, 564-943#. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Folks who dialed in with a hand up commentary to share. If you have commentary, situation, let's see, victim should be with us. Nab other hands as I see them. Let's see.
Have you heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my call, Gus, and greetings to all the Cal's listeners and callers. Unfortunately, I did not get a chance to hear all the clips that you played, but from what you said, it's about job security. I will say that my current employer, the union that I guess sponsors my current employer, they just had a strike. It lasted about 2 days. A lot of people walked off the job, and this strike was in response to the current negotiations that were going back and forth, in which the employer did not want to give any additional raises for any employee this coming year, stating that they have a lot of, I guess, economic setbacks from the federal government and whatnot. The union did not accept that as an answer. The state of California is a wealthy state, so they ended up striking for about 2 days, and it forced the employer back to the negotiation tables, and now they're negotiating raises that will match the cost of living to a degree. And they also said that if they were to give raises, was one of their excuses, that they may have to lay off people in the following years. So that's just what's going on with my current employer. I want to give an update on something I said last week, and it is about my sister-in-law, the one that was separated from the military. I was able to acquire the letter that was sent to her, and I guess I'll read a little bit of it. It says, memorandum for senior Pentagon leadership, commanders of the Combatant Commands Defense Agency, Department of Defense Field Activity Director, subject additional guidance on prioritizing military excellence and readiness. As directed by the Secretary of Defense in this February 7th, 2025 memorandum, prioritizing military excellence and readiness is department policy that, pursuant to the Executive Order 14183, prioritizing military excellence and readiness, the medical, surgical, and mental health constraints on individuals who have a current diagnosis or history of or exhibit symptoms of consistent with gender dysphoria are incompatible with the high mental and physical standards necessary for military service. The attachment to this memorandum provides supplemental policy guidelines and establishes a reporting mechanism to ensure department compliance. The policy guidance in the attachment 1 supersedes any conflicting policy guidance in Department of Defense issuance and other policy guidance memoranda, and is effective immediately and will be incorporated into respective department issuance as appropriate. I'm going to move down to this last part, and it gives a list of things that were maintained and things that were changed. And I'll give you what's been changed. Effective immediately, the following issuance policies and memorandum are canceled. In service transition for transgender service members, defense mental agency procedures, guidance for gender affirming health care, transgender and gender device, active and reserve component service members, acting assistance, guidance for treatment of gender dysphoria for the active and reserve component service members, and guidance for medical care and military treatment facilities for services members diagnosed with gender dysphoria. And I'll finally say, this is the last paragraph. The Assistant Secretary of Defense for Manpower and Reserve Affairs will be responsible for all data collection and reporting. The first report is due March 26, 2025. All Department of Defense and military service policy recessions and updates must be completed no later than June 25th, 2025. Service member being processed for separation in accordance with this policy will be afforded all statutory required rights and benefits. So that's the letter, and yeah, so that's what they said verbatim.
Fascinating. And I guess for folks, victim times 3 had spoke with us last week about his sister, and was she basically terminated from the armed services?
They use the term separated, but pretty much, yes. I think they took away her ability to re-sign up or continue service. But again, the letter said they will still receive all the benefits and things of that sort. But yes.
Fascinating. Wow. That's, man, I don't even know if you'd have, or not you, your sister, I'm not sure if she would even have resource, or if anybody else impacted by all of that would have recourse. Just, we changed the rules. We're not doing any of that. And you are not fit for service, deemed not fit for service any longer. Like, why? Which again just goes back to what I just said. Like, hey, you can be fired at any time. Reason? No reason. Or we manufacture a reason. You know, it sounds good. You're not fit for service. Beat it. Beat it. Beat it. Beat it. Maybe they did her a favor. Who knows how things will go over the next 4 years while Trump is in office. So I don't know. I guess if you can keep the benefits right, you can. But what they say, you have your runway, right, and you still have the benefits. So I guess you can plot for an alternative career. But man, that is. Was your sister, was she looking to do like a long-term military thing? Did she want to do like a 20-year military career type thing?
Yeah, she was looking to make a career and retire. I think you could retire after 20 years of service or something like that. But again, for her, her main, detail or main job function, they're paying for the school that she's going to now. So,
dang, how long does that go? Like, is that an indefinite? Like, she can go ahead and finish out school with no problem, and that'll all be taken care of if she keeps her benefits?
Yes. So she's going to maintain all the benefits, medical, dental, stuff like that, and school money stuff, whatever. So she is currently going to school for some kind of trade now. So, and they're paying for it.
Well, that's good. That's good. That's still kind of. I mean, it's not good, but make the best of a tacky situation, I guess. Hopefully, she'll get like a really lucrative civilian career, and maybe she can write a book about all of this once she gets settled. Maybe she can write a book about all this too. But man, that is kind of lame, but to be expected in the system of white supremacy. All kinds of unjust terminations. He talked about, our caller, he talked about his own work experience at the beginning and saying that they're currently, I guess, having strikes in California, better work conditions and all the rest of it. And I guess they said, no, we're not doing any of that. We've had tough times and federal government, all these tariffs and disruptions, and nope, we're not raising wages, and nope, we're just not doing any of that. Like, wow. Now, they were talking at the beginning, hey, that is exactly what we're talking about. We're trying to get rid of all these union strikes and folks out there picketing and making it difficult for us to make a few nickels, and said we're done with all that. That's why we're getting rid of workers and trying to get rid of these unions too. Having folks out here, jumping up and down saying that the workers are being, maybe we can get more robots too. Then we don't have no unions, we don't have no protests, we just low hum of productivity. But that notwithstanding, I guess they were not successful with the strike effort. And then California, unless I've been missing.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Gus. The sentiment about not raising salaries, that was before the strike. The strike actually forced them back to the negotiation table.
Oh, that's good. I thought you said they gave the big no, like we're not doing it. But okay, so retract. I guess they were somewhat even more. That's why Trump said we need to get rid of these unions out here messing things up, and now we got to go back and waste more time negotiating. But bravo, good for them. Glad they were able to get a few, because they do. I've seen lots of reports where California is very wealthy. Elon hung out there with all that Tesla and everything else. California has lots of money. They could do lots of things way better. There's no reason for, workers to be struggling, and we can't get, come on. You do it. Even the fast food workers, they had to do all that brawling to get them minimum wage lifted to I think $20 for at least some of the fast food workers. Like, come on, that's much.
And also the teachers from the teachers also striked last year too.
That's right. That's what, because we've had educators in California where they said the same thing. Like, man, they make all this money in California state, and teachers get that. They had the reports where the teachers were sleeping in the car. They said we make so little money, we can't even afford the rent in California, so we sleep in our car to go teach. And we had other folks who called in to echo that sentiment, because Bay Area mom, now she's in Northern California, but still, we've had educators all over California talk about the exact same thing in a state with so much money, but we don't invest in, simple things that would benefit lots of like you could pay the non-white fast food workers an adequate wage. Nah. Pay the teachers, especially the teachers who teach dark people in California. Nah. Okay, we got it. California dreaming, we got it. Much obliged. I say tell your sister, write a book. Like, hey, hopefully she can finish school, do all that. Great lucrative career. She should write a book. Document all that. It sounds like it might even be calling out racism or President Trump, so she should write a book. Much obliged, good sir, and good luck to the folks doing the union renegotiations. Hopefully they will get a big cost of living wage increase, more benefits. Kudos all around. Let's see. Other folks who dialed in, *61, if you have commentary to share. The email again, untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. We had talked about military careers. What do you say to a non-white person if they want to go into the military? That would be one that I would add in there. Like, you can be in the armed services, I guess whichever branch of service, and depending on who gets elected, they might change policies about what's going to be allowed, how the military is going to function. Are you going to even be allowed to serve or not? They might change policy that could have, Jesus, drastic ramifications on your career in the military. That would also be which could include they decide to go to war. That would also be one, could have drastic consequences for your military career. So that would also be something to think about. Whatever it is that you're doing or how you're thinking about all this, it could it could shift in, a matter of minutes, just depending on what happens at the ballot box sometimes. Anyway, let's see. Folks who wrote in, I'll get some of the emails as well. The email untiljustice@gmail.com. Untiljustice@gmail.com. Email number 1. Hi, Gus and Cal's audience. Number 1, right-wing Ashley hasn't said anything about the sexual assault allegations because even though we all look alike, it's the other light-skinned singer, Smokey Robinson, who's been accused of his housekeeper, Gus. Poor Lionel. I mixed up my light-skinned singers. Smokey Robinson's been accused, not Lionel Richie. I don't know why I guess it's never mind. Anyway, I'm mixing up wasn't Abraham Bolden talking about light-skinned black males with soft hands? I suspect that might include both Smokey Robinson and Lionel Richie, both victims of white supremacy. Mixed up my crooning entertainers. 2, the company I work for is trying to save money, so they are closing some of the office buildings. This means that people will have to work in different buildings or from home more. Hey, that's a win. I take that. Hopefully you can be one of the ones to work from home. That's beautiful. That's trying to get more folks to do that. The office that right-wing Ashley worked in closed last week. Apparently, people are sad about the closure, including right-wing Ashley. They held a funeral last Thursday, which lasted the afternoon, so no work got done. Are you flipping serious? They held a funeral for a building? Are you serious? Man, come on. And no work got done because are people mourning? Are we crying for the building? They're not going to knock the building down. They turned it into a donut factory. Like, what? Why is that? Man, woo, it does not get any better than tacky. That's another one. They're going to send cards around, or we're going to have flowers for the building. Jesus. So they got no work done, obviously. People wore black. Are you serious? Are you serious? They had pizza and other junk food and are still griping this week. Come on, man. Come on. All I can say, as many of these little gatherings and tacky parties and things that they have, try to avoid as many of these as you possibly can. Try to avoid all this foolishness if you can. Get some work done. How about that, so we're not wasting time? And they got paid for that too. Get to go and waste a whole afternoon where we didn't do nothing but eat pizza and jelly beans. Oh man, they didn't close the building. Oh man, now I got to sit at home in my footies and get work done. Oh man. Or we got to gossip and talk foolishness. Oh, we used to have so much fun coming in. Oh, I miss hanging out with it. Y'all can do all that. Text messages. You can go meet up at the pub. Like, come on. 3, there's some resistance to the closure of the office building, which right-wing Ashley has been drawn into. Why? Don't you want to work from home? Now she's feeling overwhelmed by it as people are expecting her to join the campaign, but she doesn't know how to extricate herself from it. Well, you get what you deserve. 4, Zoe and I met with her today to discuss her performance, and right-wing Ashley shared that this was affecting her well-being, which meant I had to pretend that I cared. Does she mean the building closing? Like, what? Wait. Jesus Lord. Get some work done, you lazy heifers. Like, the building closed. I might need counseling. Man. She gets herself involved in situations and projects that she cannot handle and expects me or Zoe to get her out of it or do the work for her. 5, she's also feeling overwhelmed because Shauna is leaving the team soon And Zoe is also going on maternity leave in August. I mentioned the IVF. Right-wing Ashley is 25 years old and apparently getting married soon and thinks she's so great at her job that she's due a promotion, yet she is unsettled by people leaving the team. This happens all the time in the organization. 6. I chaired our divisional meeting a few weeks ago. We have an interim director who's covering for our permanent director who is on paternity leave, IVF. I asked everyone to introduce themselves and say what projects they work on, taking no more than a minute. Right-wing Ashley said during our performance discussion that she was proud of herself for being able to introduce herself, as a few months ago she would have panicked. This heifer gets paid $48K. That's what I mean right there about the report we started with, HBR cast about white people getting fired and nepotism and cronyism. I mean, are you serious? You are a grown white person. Presumably you have a degree of some sort. I don't know. White people get to cheat a lot, but either way, you are a grown white person. You want a round of applause because you could introduce yourself to people you already know. I'm very aware people have public speaking anxiety. Some people get nervous. It doesn't come naturally to them. You are a grown 25-year-old white person who was hired for this job, where you know you have to speak in front of other people, maybe a large group of people. If you're not comfortable doing that, or you're not good at doing that, how did you get this job? That's the type of thing that I'm talking about, because it'll be black people, oh my God, like they have the oratory skills of Dr. King or somebody, actually can type, can get up and speak in front of a group of people without, I'm about to faint and I'm so nervous, ooh, ooh, ooh. And you still don't give them a job. Remember, she said she was on the hiring panel, and they had a young lady who came in and spoke and was qualified, intelligent, smart, and they said, she got that old Negro accent. I don't. She didn't get the job. I can't even understand it. It got them. We don't want that. But you get a white person, barely speak, trembling, and I get nervous. Can you hold my hand? I get $48K. I can barely introduce myself and give my work accomplishments. What does it mean to be? You won't give Leroy $10K to clean the toilets, but you give her $48K. She can't even. What's my name? Julie. I gotta breathe. Julie. Yes, Julie. And I've been working, and I'm so proud. Okay, I'm gonna sit down. Man, that was hard. Wasn't that hard? Jesus. Let's see. 7. Then there's Shelley, who is still up to her racist practice. I reported that she was questioning me about my work last week and that I ignored her. We did a presentation for the interim director this week on our team's work. She presented before me and linked her project to the one I lead, attempting to position herself as overseeing my work. Do you see how many white people do that to her? It's like the janitor, the cafeteria workers, the custodial workers, people who got fired, everybody comes in. This nigger woman here, she's not really in charge. This is actually my project. We just, pass off different assignments and let her come out and, just pretend, the niggers. You have to let them play a little pretend leader. But this is actually my project. Unbelievable. They have people who don't know nothing about the project. But no, this nigger is not in charge. Yeah. Any questions? You just come see me about anything needs to be done. Dang. I thought I was and that's another one. To be expected. Even sometimes if you are the boss of the company, if you are classified as black, oh man, the white people are going to come. And it's not really that niggerish business. I run things. Leroy doesn't know nothing. Leroy couldn't tie a shoe without me. 8. Shauna presented before us both, and she did the same thing because she and Shelley seem to have bonded over disliking me. It's the second time we've done this presentation, so I wasn't surprised. I carried on as though I wasn't aware of what they were doing. I've seen that before as well, where individuals, sometimes it can even be a white person and a non-white person, they will bond around their mutual dislike of another non-white person. I have seen that in the workplace. Proceed. I would take notes, do all that you need to protect yourself, but that there is the system of white supremacy, tacky through and through. That you cannot have no expectation that black people are cool and these are my homies and friends. 9. Shelley has been organizing the team hangout, which is 200 miles away in the city where she lives. It got delayed several times for various reasons, but she won't leave it alone, and she's very bothered by the fact that I said I wasn't going over a year ago and is attempting to force me to attend. That is clowning. That, man, I mean, these folks do more time wasting in the workplace. They had a funeral for a building and wasted like a whole day. She said they took the afternoon off. They wasted the whole day because you got to organize to get the pizza and the rest of the food and to get the room where you can have all this and set everything up and the table. They wasted a whole day to have a funeral for a building, then come back and say, we got to have our team hang. You all, they sit around and gossip about people all the time. Why are we hanging out? For what? For what? Talk about Lionel Richie? For what? Come on, man. And I've seen that where white employees devote a lot of time and energy to some sort of, it's nothing related to work. It's nothing related to work. But they organize all this time and energy and money spent. And you got to drive, which is like 5 hours out of the way. And we get together and rendezvous and all that. And then if you say, hey, man, you know, I got children. I'm a victim of racism. I got to polish my resume up because I might be fired. I can't drive 200 miles out of the way and do all this. I can't, you know, I got things to do. What? What? This nigga woman is not trying to go. I can't believe it. And they sit around and gossip about you and get an attitude. We put all this time and energy together. Oh, Lakeisha doesn't want to come down. She's not a team player. She didn't want to drive 5 hours to come down and spend time with us. What? It does not get any better than tacky. I can only say again, if it's something semi-reasonable, that's how I phrase it. When I say semi-reasonable, if it's something where it's a 10-minute drive, hell, it's a 15-minute drive. You go spend some time, they see your face, you snicker at a joke or two, 30 minutes passes, well, I got things to do, I've got offspring, whatever, victim of rape, got that resume to polish, I'll catch you all at the office, have a great time. No big deal. I'm not driving no 5 hours. I'm not sitting on a train. None of that. None of that. Once you start creeping over, now, wait a minute. Just the transit time alone, it's going to take me 30 minutes, an hour. We're not even talking about actually participating in the festivities. Nah. Y'all are wasting way too much time and energy. And really, at this point, now, for some people, if they're compensated, maybe. If you're going to pay me, and maybe give me gas too, if you're going to pay me, you can compensate me for all that, to drive all this distance, and blah, blah, that's like a work day. Maybe. That's better than sitting in the office. I can listen to Neely Fuller Jr. in the drive, or even if I'm on the train, okay, maybe. But if I'm not getting paid for all this, if this is just hanging out, we just wasting time with y'all for it, like, come on. And then you can get an attitude because, come on. As Shauna announced that she is leaving, Shelley left a message in our team chat that the trip would double up as Shauna's leaving due. Now, are those mandatory when they have an employee who, I guess not get, because they don't have these if you get fired, but if somebody is voluntarily leaving and they're going to have a party, do they make those like required generally? Is that like you got to go to Shauna's leaving party? Like, I've been around for a few of those too. They don't generally make that like you got to go to. Eleanor been with us all this time, and you know you gonna get into it. It's gonna be 2 people leaving if you're not at Eleanor's part. Like they don't. Do they do that normally? You can let me know on that one. Maybe I'm ignorant. Let's see. So Shauna's leaving the party. Now we're gonna make it a double up thing. I made no comment. That means nothing to me either. I'm sure Shauna will be arranging leaving drinks over the weekend the next few weeks. Are you serious? You got to go and drink tequila? Because somebody, come on. I don't know. I wouldn't want to do that either. Like, real talk. Like, I understand they do exit interviews, I guess, and whatever, but I would not want to go and chat it up with it. Even if it's my manager or supervisor, I would not want to go and chat it up with them just because they're leaving, especially involving alcohol. Like, do what? Do what? You get 2 or 3 tequilas in and you lose tongue. And Nick, well, let me tell you what I really think about you. No, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. I never do they do that? Am I ignorant? I'm asking, like, seriously, do they do that? You go get a drink like at happy hour with your supervisor or boss if they're leaving? Is that true? Man, let's see. Shelley and I are Shauna and I are based in the same office, but I have zero intention of going to her outing, leaving. She's making do leave. There have been more messages about the team trip in the chat over the past few weeks of them making arrangements where they're going for lunch, etc. I've not joined in as it's got nothing to do with me. You can bet your last dollar, since you're not going and you're a Negra, when they do go, oh man, your ears are going to be ringing. You're going to be all kinds of Negra. They're going to get to my black brother Lionel Richie down the road. They'll get to him. I got the right one this time. They're going to get to Lionel Richie. But first of all, that nigga woman, and you know she didn't even, she remember, she was lying to us saying she got ankle problems. What if I see her in the street, I'm going to run over, she's going to have some ankle problems, but didn't even want to come. You are going to be like the first 3 subjects of conversation when they get to the away day. She said, more messaging that doesn't have anything to do with me. Shauna returned from leave yesterday. We had a practice session in the morning before we did the presentation for the interim director. Shelley sent an email earlier that morning asking people to complete an online poll about the games they want to play at the away day. Karaoke is one of them. I can't remember the others. I obviously didn't respond. So, at the end of our practice session, she brought up the away day. I could tell she had complained to Shauna that, see, he said, I could tell she had complained to Shauna that I hadn't responded. Nobody is saying outright that I must attend. That's not the way people usually speak about these events where we work. It's more of a strong hint. I switched my camera off and said I needed to go to the loo, which was true. They were still talking about this event and you. When I got back 5 minutes later, oh yeah, they took the whole 5 minutes. See, there's no count nigga woman, and that's why I said, I don't know why we hired her in the first place. But then so she goes, oh yeah, it's so good to see you. Yeah. Woo. I kept my camera off until the end of the meeting. I had nothing to say. Organizing this event and effectively demanding I attend is another way of Shelley positioning herself as my boss. I also reported last week that Shelley was questioning me about an email from another team that related to the project I lead. As I didn't answer the question, she got someone in the other team to do the follow-up. There were a few people on the email chain, so I left them to respond, but they could only answer from their perspective. There was no reason for him to follow up. It's so out of the ordinary, which is why I know he was doing Shelley's bidding. That is so, what shall I say? Racist for sure, but beyond that, or in addition to that, it's racist for sure. But then in addition to that, it's kind of juvenile, I think. Like, what? I'm so committed to my racism and sabotaging, and this nigger woman is not in charge. This is my project, even though she doesn't know what she's doing. That, okay, she figured it out the first time around and ignored me. And okay, I'm gonna get this nigga one. We'll get. Look here. Jim, go over here. You do it. This time she'll respond to you and she won't even know. And yeah, we got it. Are you serious? Are you 10? Are you 5? This is like middle school. That's what I mean. Like, it's for sure racist, because she would not be doing all this if the person who wrote this was classified as white. But I mean, dang. Are y'all like, are you in elementary school? That is so like, men, and they do childish stuff all day long. All we've heard is party favors. We got to get the cupcakes for the party. Like, you just do childish stuff all day long. I thought we were at work, man. Y'all need to put the prom dance together. Do you get punch? Party favors? Like, man, can we just grow up and be adults at work? No. We got to practice racism, sabotage this Negra, and then we'll make parties and gossip and lie about her messing up our fun and racism sometimes. Tacky as can. And they get paid to do this, get paid well to sit around and waste time and do all this nonsense. Anyway, she continues. So she does all this chicanery to get someone else to respond. I don't report to him either, the person who Shelley got to do this email. I don't report to him either, so I had nothing to say. That is the best policy so often. Nothing to say. Nothing to say. Not getting into long arguments and exchanges and I know what y'all did and y'all rigged this up and no. I've nothing to say. Say less in the workplace. I'm such a massive advocate. Say less in the workplace. We really don't need to, have tons of long drawn out arguments, exchanges with non-white people, especially when you see it's tackiness like this. Oh yeah, say less. And maybe even the things that are said are in writing, so we have an accurate record about what you did say and what you didn't say. Anyway, much obliged for the commentary. Let us know how the away day go. The funeral, Lord Jesus, we will send our respects to the building isn't being knocked down. That's why it's even more tacky. They're not knocking the building down. Is there a demolition crew coming out? Y'all are just moving out of the building. That's all. Come on. The number again, 720-716-7300, the code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. The email untiljustice@gmail.com. Folks that we missed totally. If you have commentary, do they have funerals for the building in your job? Am I being ignorant? And do you have to go get drinks? If somebody leaves, if your boss, the CEO, if they leave, they didn't get fired, they didn't get charged with, molesting the intern, nothing like that. But they just, I'm moving on, better thing, or I'm retiring, even better, something like that. Do you have to go get drinks together? I've never heard that in my life. Like as a one-on-one thing, have y'all heard of this? Have you done this? Folks who dialed in with a hand up, let's see. Double O Dimples, non-Clemson dad, tumbling dice with us as well.
Can I be heard?
Non-Clemson dad, yes, sir.
All right. Good evening, everyone. To answer your question, I've never heard of a funeral for a building before. Personally, such a thing sounds silly to me, but I can't say I'm particularly bothered by it either. People have their things that they like. I mean, people become architects like my mother's because they like the idea of buildings and stuff. And of course, people can have their sentimental attachments to buildings because maybe they have a really, really important memory that they have established at that place. Weird to me, but I understand how it could occur. So a couple of things to report. First, I want to talk about one of the managers at work. This happened about a week or so ago. At one point, I was sitting in my cubicle, and I thought I had my headphones. I had my headphones on, but they were not playing anything. And I heard the manager say to me, "Hey, are you behaving over there?" I took off my headphones, asked him what did he say, and he said, "Never mind." I remember having earlier this week I had a conversation with my friend. He was the witness when me and my wife got married, and he told me that he's had similar interactions with this particular manager as well. The guy just basically comes off as quite a bit weird. I think I reported a little while ago, for example. He's not a big fan of the work from home policy, and though I'm not sure if he had a hand in getting rid of it in his immediate department, one of the things he does, even though he has an office as a manager, he usually starts his day by sitting in one of the empty cubicles by the people in his department, and it's weird. The people in his department, they've been there longer than he's been the manager. And one of the things they do is that they're really talkative. They are really they're close. I'm not gonna say they're friends, but they're definitely friendly, and they talk all the time. And when he's there, basically the whole area around that cubicle is quiet. It's like they don't want to even talk anymore. So it's kind of unfortunate in my personal opinion. And then for today's news, today I interviewed for the planning director position. In preparation for the interview, I got some really good advice. Hello? I hear a bit of echoing in the background. Okay. I got some really good advice to use ChatGPT to help me write my resume, which I did. After getting an initial draft, I had a conversation with my friend who I go running with, who is a plant manager, a black male. He said that I needed to get more leadership on my resume to show that I have led projects and people. After I added that, he said my resume was pretty okay, but I should continue to refine, which I did. Even before putting in my resume, I started looking at mock interview questions. I put in my application last Thursday, so that'd be about 7 days ago. Thursday night, and had an interview by Friday morning. Over the next couple of days, I continued with mock interview prep. On Monday, I contacted my college and my graduate school career centers to schedule mock interviews. I did 2 on Tuesday. I did both on Tuesday. On Wednesday, I continued to practice mock interview questions with my wife. And I also requested to take the day off on Thursday, today, from work from my manager so I could focus on just the interview that today. At the very least, At the very least, the interview, I do feel it was a successful interview. I didn't feel I did feel confident and pretty good about it, though that doesn't mean I know what the outcome is going to be. I prepared as best as I can. I have no idea how long the selection process is going to take. Interestingly, the person who led the interview process was the woman who signed off on my engineering license, and 3 other people in the room were also engineers who served as references for me to get my engineering license as well. I will say I took today off, and that was actually at the advice of my wife, and I was actually going to go into work today, do my normal stuff, and then when I had the interview, go do the interview, then go right back to work. And before the end of the night, I realized, you know what? No, this is going to cause me a lot of stress and angst. So I decided to just text my manager and put in for the day off, and he did grant that. It's very possible, though, that he also interviewed for the position of director as well. I guess we'll all see pretty soon enough. But it definitely was very helpful to go ahead and just take the day off. and really don't have anything else to report outside of that. I have no idea how long the process will take. Either they'll hire me or they won't. I'll go on about my life either way. With that, I'll mute my line.
Wow. Well, we will send lots of prayers, well wishes, hopefully. New director, non-Clemson dad, victim of racism. Lots of well wishes, and let us know. How long do you think it'll take before you find out? Not that it's a rush, I guess, but.
I personally have no idea. It is a director position, so it's very possible that they're still interviewing other people for the position. As far as my wife is concerned, she might be partially joking, but she might be partially serious as well. She thinks that I'm going to make it into, like a runoff for the position where I'm going to have to interview again 1 or 2 more times before they make a final decision on whether or not to hire whomever. I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're trying to make their decision as quickly as possible, as the position has been empty for the last, I think, since the beginning of March. And before we know it, it will be June. And then on a side note, obviously, I told you that the person who did the interview or led the interview was an engineer. They were all engineers. All 4 of them were engineers, people that I've come to know through the years. And the person who was the counterpart to the administrator who led the interview process, he recently left to go take on a new job as a city administrator. And of course, I said before he took off, he was the one that hired the previous director, the black female. And to me, it's very interesting now. I do wonder if they're even going to hire out for his position. Before he got that position, he was the director of planning, and then he was promoted to an assistant administrator. And it'd be interesting to see whether or not they hire his position back. And they don't. That means the woman who signed up with my engineering license basically inherits new responsibilities, including managing not just the public works, which means engineering, but she'll also have to manage planning and code compliance. She definitely has the capacity to do it. She manages tens and hundreds of people very easily since, all the time I've known her. So this wouldn't be a big lift for her, but I do find it very interesting. I do wonder, because the former administrator, the planning one who fired the former director, he's now got a job where he has a 4-year contract working as a city administrator. And was it training for him to be in his position before moving on to a full city administrator job? Because I do wonder about his competence. I feel like he's the kind of person that fails up, but I guess we'll just have to see through the years.
Fails. I want to do that, man. I just fail up, mess up and mess up and mess up and just can't be fired. Boy, is this the female that you think we could have some job creep where she'll end up having to maybe be responsible for planning and co-compliance, and maybe she'll get a big hefty increase in salary too to go with all these new duties? Is this a black female or a white female?
Yep, this is black female who signed up for my engineering license. I'm not willing to go as far as to say that it would be job creep, though she is currently managing all the departments right now with the departure of the planning assistant administrator. But it is very interesting. She has the capacity. I guess she'll have to negotiate that with the county if she does inherit those responsibilities. But the thing is that before she inherited her current position, the person who had her position before her, a white woman, was actually responsible for all those departments anyways. That means the engineers, the planners, and code compliance. So if she inherits planning and code compliance, she'll basically be getting all the responsibilities of the person who had the job before her. Now take that with a grain of salt, because before that woman had all those responsibilities, there was another planning administrator who got demoted and had her position moved to under the white woman. And I learned this after I moved to South Carolina 10 plus years ago. So it's very interesting. And of course, the person who was the assistant planning administrator at the time before I moved here was another black woman. So that black woman got demoted. She got moved into the underneath the command of the white woman. And then she decided to retire her position and became a professor, I think, whatever that is. And now this black woman, again, the one who signed up for my engineering license, now she's in a position where she seems to be overseeing all these different departments, clearly has the competence to do it. Don't take anything away from her. But I do find it very interesting how all these things have played out over the last decade plus.
That is fascinating, especially if it does go back and she gets all the duties and responsibilities that this position had previously when it was a white woman in that spot. It would be interesting to see, now what's this black female salary? What was that white woman's salary? Even with the inflation calculator, let's see.
Now, that is a very good question. I know when I first got to the county, the white woman's salary was roughly $126,000 because this is publicly available information.
Right.
At least through the years. So she was about $126K when I first moved here back in 2014. And through the years, assistant administrators, I feel like their salaries were just jumping up and up and up. And I think before she had left her position, she was dang near $200,000. Now, since I have last seen the administrative salaries, because they usually release them 2 years behind. So I think you can go back as far as 2023, 22. The black woman who led my interview, the last time I saw her, she was making about $150K. And the person who was opposite her, the planning administrator, the one that's just departed, he was making about $130K. Now, you just said him about the part I said about him filling up. I will take that slightly back. I can't really say he was really bad at his job. I never really see him do anything outright incompetent. But some of the things that did catch my attention was that it was very clear that the black woman was clearly competent. And the best way to learn competence is to be around someone who is competent. So when both of their offices were opposite sides of the floor, he moved his office right next to her because they do a lot of projects together. And I could understand wanting to be next to someone who is competent, can help you do your job, especially when you feel you need help.
Fascinating. Those salary numbers that he gave, with the inflation calculator, sounds like the black female. They might be getting a discount. They put all those duties back on. Hey, Lakeisha's right on. Great for the bottom line here. It's great. Let's see. And maybe it will be in your benefit because he mentioned that a number of the folks who were on the interview panel were people who participated in signing off on his engineering license. So, hey, they know. No slouch. Competent, right on. Probably be pretty good pick for the job. Maybe. We'll pray really hard. See. Now he said, I'd asked about the using AI to pick out, possible career paths and what have you. I'd mentioned that. Non-Clemson dad said he used it to help polish up his resume. Now, if he gets the director job, we'll know that that's what to do. Get your resume, write it up, and then bam, give it to the AI to see if it can polish up and boost a little thing. I think he said some of the tips that he got was to see if he can add a little bit more leadership to his resume. Showed, hey, I led everybody and got the team organized, and bang, we were successful. I think everybody could probably take that, myself included, to make sure you include components where you have shown leadership in your resume. The behaving, that's one of the greatest phrases ever. He said that at the very beginning of his share. He said he was in the office, a guy that everybody says is racist. My fault. He didn't say that. My fault. Said this guy's a little weird. But he said he was in the office, he had his earbuds on. I've talked about that before. I said, like a genius, I said you can have them on, but you can't have the volume up way loud. You can't have those really nice noise canceling. You can't have that in the workplace. And I've even said maybe just wear one and then take the other one out. But you still want to be able to hear things that are happening around you. You are not at home. This is not chill time. You are at work, and presumably you might have some people who do not have your best interest at heart. So you want to be aware of what's going on. Are they saying things about me? Are they plotting to fire me? Like anything. Like you want to know what's going on. So he says he has his earbud in, but he can hear. And the odd fellow, hey, you behaving yourself over there? WTH. That is, oh my God, that is right up there, I got black friends. What are you talking about? Racist. I voted for Obama. What do you mean racist? I mean, oh my God. Are you behaving yourself? Again, are you talking to a child? Are we at school right now? Like I'm, a little kindergartner. Are you behaving yourself over there? What are you? Did you get it? I'm attempting to be universal man, trying to get this director position, and I'm working hard. What are you talking about behaving myself? And he goes to look, and he didn't say that the next time around, behaving. He didn't repeat himself. Man, write that down. Behaving like what? I even pay attention because I don't generally hear white people say that to other white people. That's almost the same thing like when the white female called him the contagion in The Office. Here comes trouble. What? My name is not Trouble. If I was Trouble, I don't think I'd have got that. What do you mean? Do I have an arrest record? Did I come in here to loot and rape white women? All of that. Like, I have a name. You are not charged with making sure that my conduct is appropriate, I don't think. Like, if you need to speak to me or what have you, you can just do that. Are you behaving yourself? What? If other folks have heard that one in the workplace, like applied to you, or even if you say, hey, you can check me. Hey, Gus, shut up, Gus. Man, I hear white people say that to white people all the time. You can let me know. But those are some that I pay attention to right there that are generally, these are like racist ways we can reference black people. Here comes trouble. Uh-oh. You behaving your, watch out, now hide your wallet. Anyway, great advice before I get the great advice, I think, from Mama C. She said, take the day off. Interviews are stressful in the system of white supremacy. Apparently, even for some suspected racists, they say getting interviewed by other white people is still stressful. Gets on your nerves and anxious. Take the day off. That way you get all the rest you need. You can just focus on that one task. Workplace, you never know. You go into the workplace and maybe that fella, you behaving yourself, watch out now. Then you got that in your brain computer going into the interviews. I think that is brilliant advice. That way you don't have anything else. Relaxed, calm, great effort for the interview, and then get back to dealing with all that foolishness the next day. I totally forgot. I guess it's good to remember we are speaking with valedictorian, non-Clemson dad. So you have to expect him to say nerdy things. So he says, now, it's a little, odd to me to have a funeral for a building, but my mom is an architect, so I can see how people would have an affinity for buildings. What a nerdy valedictorian thing to say. Now, how many Negroes have a architect parent? Anyway, much obliged, non-Clemson dad. Tumbling dice, privileged black male, should be with us as well. Oh, I muted the line. My fault. Sorry. Got confused. Okay.
Hello, may I be heard, Gus?
Yes, sir. My fault.
Yeah. Yes, Gus. I had two incidents I want to tell you about that happened. And the first one was about a week and a half ago. The warehouse guy asked me to help transport some computer papers from the warehouse over to the school where I work. So he put a pallet of the computer papers on his truck, on his work truck, and I drove the truck from the warehouse over to the school where I work. But while I was going to the school, I made a left turn onto the street leading to the school, and I guess the papers were kind of top heavy, and some of them, some of the boxes of paper fell into the street. Well, I guess about 12 boxes. But I made a U-turn real quick, and I blocked traffic. I blocked, the boxes from getting run over, and I was putting them back. But while all this was going on, one of the administrators from my school, she was instead of coming to help me or come and help me block traffic, she snapped pictures of me struggling with these papers in the intersection. And luckily, 2 other people came to help me. But instead of coming to help me, she snapped pictures of me. And she called one of the arch deceiver and told them that I caused an accident in the middle of the intersection, and there was papers everywhere. And she saw me while I was going through the intersection. She saw me doing donuts in the intersection and causing the stuff to spill out on the street. Now, I didn't know how to do donuts in a vehicle, man. So she snapped the pictures and sent the stuff and lied on me and said that there were papers everywhere. None of the box was broken. All the box contained the original papers. So that was a lie. So what I did, I went to one of the businesses along the street there that had a camera, and it showed that none of the boxes, there was no papers all over the place, and that I wasn't doing any donuts. So I'm going to file a complaint on her for lying on me, because that never happened. But it just goes to show you that if they see a black male, instead of coming to help them and try, because anything could have happened. She is a representative of the school district. I could have got hit by a car. Another vehicle could have ran me over and killed me, and the other vehicles could have hit the district vehicle too and create a liability. So, these people don't care about, protecting me per se. They'd rather go and lie to me when I was in distress, Now, the other incident happened earlier this week, about 2 days ago. I got my left thumb injured. I was doing some work on the bus, and somehow my thumb got caught in one of the belts, and it got hyperextended, really bad strain. So I called my supervisor to tell him what had happened, and that if I needed to go, I needed to go to the doctor, because I had another doctor's appointment unrelated to what happened. So I called him and left a message for him. This guy, I called him about 10:30 in the morning. This guy didn't call me back until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and hey, are you all right? Are you all right? I said, hey man, I hurt my finger, and you didn't have the decency to call me. And then when he didn't call me, I reported it to the HR lady. The HR lady, she didn't call me until almost 3 o'clock, asking me if I was all right, man. So man, these people don't care about me like that, you know what I'm saying? And not that I want them to care, but they don't have even the common decency to check to see if I still have my thumb on or if my thumb was off, So it just goes to show you, man, that they don't care nothing about, like you always say, under the rubrics of safety. They don't care about you like that, just like how they don't care about the kids, So those are my 2 incidents that I wanted to share with you. But these people don't care. So I always tell people, you just go to work and do the basic minimum that your job requires you to do. Don't do above and beyond, because they really don't care about you like that. And I'm gonna meet my line, guys. Thanks for letting me share.
Tumbling dice. Much obliged. Wow. As soon as he said that, the fella said, hey, tumbling dice, you got these papers. You think you can? Say, uh-oh. This is not going to go. Really, my first thought was the weed whacker said, He about to be accused of stealing all that paper. Like, oh, they're going to say, I told you he stole the weed whacker, and he broke into the garage, the warehouse, and he stole about 15 sheets of paper. I saw him. He got it. I got it on film right there. He stole the paper. See, that's it. I told you about the rogue. Now, see, told you you've been raping too. See, that's what I was thinking originally, but didn't go that route. But some of the paper falls out. They'll probably blame him for that too. Say we got regulations about how we stack and load parcel in school vehicles, and you did not follow the regulations, so we got to write you up for that because you didn't stack the paper properly. That's not my job. You didn't stack the paper. So we write him up for that. And then she comes out. He's trying to see if I can get the paper up, not cause an accident, not have them run over the paper. I'm going to come out and take pictures, not tumbling dice. Are you all right? Are you safe? Did you kill anybody? Did you kill any white children? Let me help you get some. I'm going to take, click, click, click. I'm taking pictures. Why are you taking pictures? This Negro was out here doing donuts in the street, raping white women. He was driving on 2 wheels. He lost the paper. Now he's out here, caused an accident. A fire truck flipped him. Like, wait a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute. I don't even, he asked me to help. That's why I said, see, I knew that's where this is going. I knew that. It's like, Gus, are you saying maybe you don't do this sort of thing in the workplace? Maybe. Now, that is tough because, I mean, you're all at work and we're supposed to be helpful, but I mean, man, like, whew, they accused me of stealing the weed. Like, I thought they were going to accuse him of stealing the paper, which they basically did, and the car. That's what I thought was going to happen. Like, he stole a bus and he went to steal all the paper and we got it on. That's what I was thinking was going to happen. And it just, he stole the car, was doing donuts in the street, almost crashed into a fire truck, and then dumped the paper out in the road. And I got the pictures of him. Like, man, even like he said, the safety component, like, that is such an alarming lack of regard for safety. He could have been hit by a car. Anything could, like, let me help him get out of the street as soon as, let me at least help. Hey, watch out. We got a school employee working here in danger. Watch out. Just going around. She could have parked her car and put the hazard lights. It's lots she could have done. Nah. Boy, you wait till I get this Negro on Insta. Out here doing donuts in the street, and I'm gonna add a little bit too. Yeah, he had Mad Dog in the back seat too. That was part of. See, he was in here drinking. He was raping white women. He was sipping on Mad Dog. I'm gonna tell it all. But like, what? How about we ain't got to get to the lion racer? We ain't got to get to none of that. Just the bare. I have seen white people. Real talk. I have seen white people get out in their good clothes, suit, dress, all that, work clothes. Get out. A dog was injured. Oh, my God. Fifi, get out of the... Oh, man. I've seen that. This is a co-worker. This is not some... I don't know Leroy. He might be old raping drugs. This is a co-worker. You know him. That's why they ask you and beg. We got to go do all the old lame Christmas parties and everything else. You can't, at minimum, well, I at least make sure Leroy doesn't die and get ran over out here. I'm not going to pick up no paper. They don't pay me to pick up it. But I'm going to at least, don't run over Leroy. Works for the school. Don't run over Leroy, please. Don't run over Leroy. Thank you. Don't want to watch out for Leroy. I'm not even, and I'm going to take some pictures now. Like, I'm gonna get about a good 20 of them here. Oh, yeah. I got lots of space. I got a new iPhone. Woo, might even do some video. You going on Insta, buddy, for sure. Wait till I doctor in that Mad Dog. They got good AI technology, and I'm going to put that Mad Dog in. Dang, like, what is going on? Oh, I'm so disgusted. Hey, that's both. Now, what does it mean to be white? That's it right there. He said arch deceiver. That's right. Master deceivers. Man, what disregard. All of that, I would think about that every day. Like, you asked me to come help with some paper. You asked me to come to the Christmas party. Julie is retiring. Will you sign the card? That's the first thing that's going to come to mind. That's the first thing that's going to come to mind. Racism, why? That's why you got to talk to your children about racism too. Like, this is what, so they have a totally different grab. Wow, that's what, Dad could have been killed. And they would have just snapped pictures that told you Leroy was out there drinking Mad Dog, raping white women. That's what you get, see? I would have ran him over myself. System of white supremacy racism. Then you see the total lack of regard both ways, right? Because he said he hurt his thumb at work, probably doing donuts out in the parking lot trying to rape white women. But he hurt his thumb at work, and he calls HR, all the proper personnel to report workplace injury. Yeah. They said the same thing I did. He probably out raping white women doing donuts in the parking lot. He served him right. Hope we got it on video so we can get him fired and arrested. They called in late in the day. They almost, hey, you hurt your thumb raping white women, huh? Well, I'm sure you're going to be all right. We'll talk at you. And then they're going back. Hey, what does it mean to, isn't that black male privilege too? Isn't that black male privilege? See? Whew, man.
One more thing, Gus. One more thing I'd like to add also, Gus. Sorry for cutting you over, but I told the HR lady, I went to report it to the HR lady. And while I was telling her what was happening and how I felt it was inappropriate and it was reckless what the lady did to me, she tried to gaslight me, and not only gaslight me, but it's like what you always say on the program. She's a white lady to the HR lady, and she tried to gaslight me. Not only gaslight me, but there's a term. Well, there's a thing you like to say how they do. They like to go around the subject. They like to go circumnavigate it, but there's another word I told her that she did to me. It's called a circumlocution, meaning they take you on a trip around, and then they when they feel like they have you at one place, then they try to come back to it. Well, she tried to say, well, this lady at least she called. I said, but that's not the point. I said, she was there. She could have helped me, and she could have blocked her car, like you said, and come and help me. You know what I'm saying? And I said, well, she had to call. Then she asked me. She told me, someone. She told me that one of the other arch deceivers, he didn't know about it. I said, well, he knew about it because she had to call him for him to call my direct supervisor. You know, because my direct supervisor called me and asked me, hey, what happened out there? Were you involved in an accident? Were you doing donuts? Did you cause all that box to fall off? I told my supervisor. I said, look, man, I didn't know how to do donuts. I never caused anything. So this HR lady asked me, well, how do I know that this arch deceiver is behind it? And I told her just like what Mr. Fuller said. I said, ma'am, with all due with respect, whenever anything bad happens to black people, they are always the one behind it, and they're behind it, trying to say I was doing all these bad things out there. So for 1 minute, I kind of lost it a little bit, but I told her just like what Mr. Fuller said. Whenever anything bad happens, it's always the white supremacist behind it. And then she got quiet, and then she said, okay, well, I'm sorry you feel like that, and I will look into it, and I left, you know what I'm saying, but I was kind of upset that they not only lied on me, but they didn't help me. I could have gotten killed, you know.
Man, does not get any better than tacky. One quick point I would make, just because I've heard it, man, even at this date, many white people and non-white people have such a strong response to just the term white supremacy. Oh my God. Wow. And also because I always say I'm a big advocate of questions, just questions and not making statements. I don't know if I would recommend that statement of Mr. Fuller's about when something bad happens, because white people sometimes, and even a lot of non-white people, will divert from the abuse and lack of protocol with regards to your injury and even the accident, same thing in both instances, to, oh my Lord, are you saying that I'm a white supremacist? Are you saying that Becky is a white supremacist? Oh my, we're going to have a meeting about it. Leroy has called up, like, that's what is very common. And just what I said before, I'm such a big advocate of, let's just stick in the question lane about, even if I want to say something similar to that, just if I was talking, Julie, ma'am, have you noticed the pattern, the number of times where the weed whacker, the paper, either a lack of my thumb injury, lack of protocol, threatened to blow the teacher's brains out, like the number of times where there are false reports where we have, once again, we got to go to the video. Once again, now, was I doing donuts in the street? How many other employees on a regular basis have to come in? We have to go to the video to find out that someone was lying. How many other employees face a constant barrage of lies, willful lies that are always in opposition, always something suggesting that I'm some sort of evildoer, rapist, thug, murderer. I'm going to blow somebody's brains out for not following. When the white teacher wanted him to put a child on the bus against protocol, and he went back and said, he threatened me. He said he was going to get a gun and blow my brains out. What? Why is it that I always have to fend off these lies that are charging me with all of this outlandish criminal behavior? Do you have any other employees where they have to come in here and face these sort of charges, lies and charges? Now, that's longer, but that's still getting back in the question lane. I would certainly refine and try and shorten it so I don't have to say as much, but just so frequently when we make statements, especially if you make a statement, white supremacy, oh man. Whew. Now, Leroy has charged us with practicing white supremacy. Leroy called me a white supremacist. Now, you talk about being falsely accused. Like, oh my God. I mean, that might change everything. Now we got to have meetings about that, as opposed to, dang, we did not follow proper procedure about your thumb. Leroy got us on that one. We're going to have to do a better job in the future, because, yeah, he might not have been able to rape white women or safely operate the bus if he really did mess his thumb up that day, and he told us so in advance. So, yeah, we got to do a better job of following protocol. They'll totally forget that and just be, he called us a white supremacist. Oh my God. Leroy. What are we going to do with Leroy? Tumbling dice. Does that make sense, or am I talking wild?
Yeah, Gus. But I was just kind of frustrated with all this stuff. It was a whole bunch of lies, and then you just get to the point where you just get, you just get frustrated, man. Because this has been going on, not months. This has been going on for years. Years now I've been suffering this abuse. And all what I try to do, but I get to work early. I get to work sometimes 40 minutes early, just to avoid conflict like what Phil said. Less contact, less conflict. That's not good enough. I work really hard. My work ethic is pristine. I never had a crash, none of that type of stuff. It's still not enough. Nothing is enough, you know what I'm saying? So it just gets to a point, man, where you just, you just get a little frustrated,
Tell me about it, black brother. Privileged black brother. I certainly understand the frustration. I mean, it's been going, as you said correctly, for years and years and decades and centuries of this. I certainly understand the frustration. My recommendation for all of us victims of white supremacy, even those moments when we get frustrated, to really try and do our best to use our words to be as effective as possible. Yeah, even when we are especially, I would say, especially when we are frustrated in the workplace, to do our best to use our words to their greatest effect, because that's generally all we're going to have. And question lane, really coming up with the best questions we can ask in the workplace, dealing with white people and dealing with non-white people. The best questions to produce justice, stop us from being harmed.
And another incident happened where another guy, another white guy, the supervisor told him not to take that route when it was raining. He went with a bus full of students, took the bus, went against what the supervisor told him to do, got stuck in some mud and terrorized all the kids. They were all screaming, and they had to call a tow truck to pull the bus out, that type of thing. And it was near a canal where the bus would have went in the canal and drowned everybody. That guy didn't get that co-worker didn't get as much as a write-up, and he almost killed them kids. But see, with me, I don't even do nothing that bad, and then that's with me, He didn't even get a write-up.
White people don't get fired. Sometimes they don't even get written up, much less transferred. I was sitting over thinking oh man, it would have been awful if the children were on the bus. And then he said he almost killed the children. I can't get over it. Wow. Just wow. I cannot even imagine if Lee or Tumbling Dice had been driving the bus and got stuck and they had to get the tow truck and the children. Some of the children that he has told us about, where they get on the bus and are cursing it, yo, black ass, and the way that they talk to him. Can you imagine if he had done that and he then got stuck? They already think he's smuggling crack and raping white women, and he then went out and got stuck with the children. And oh my white Jesus, he would have been lynched, real talk. It would have not just been, oh my God, much less they didn't even write him up. Man. And that's safety too, right? White people do not care about children. That's even come up repeatedly too. I think when Tumbling Dice, way back when he first started dialing in, that was some of where these incidents started at. The racism was he was pointing out, hey, you all are not following you're not following your own policy and procedure about the safety of these vehicles that are supposed to transport all of these white children. What's going on here? Hey, shut up, Leroy, shut up. We shut up, Leroy. And then they went on. He stole the weed whacker. Talking about he stole the weed whacker. Leroy did. And then we went on, all the rest of it. But I mean, unless my memory is bad, a whole lot of this started. He was pointing out, y'all are not following safety regulations. Aren't we supposed to take care of these children, make sure? And now, we gotta get the tow truck out. Man. That if you attempted parent, maybe that's one to think about too. Are we gonna let our children take the bus to school? Man. Much of privileged black male Tumbling Dice. I would for sure make sure that's in the workplace journal. Wow, you can do all that and not even get a write-up? What? I bet they didn't even do a drug test or urine test. I would think if you do all that, at least you're going to have to pee in the cup. Nope. See you tomorrow, Chip. Come on. Let's see. The number to dial, 605-313-5164. The code 564943 pound. Press star 61 if you would like to participate. Email untiljustice@gmail.com. Let's see, our caller at the courthouse in Florida should be with us. Other folks, if we missed you totally, *61. Don't wait till the last moment. Let's see, caller at the courthouse should be with us. I'll keep an eye out on the switchboard.
Yes, sir. May I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Greetings to Gus, the host, the listeners, and callers. Gus, speaking of write-ups, I did hear a report from a victim about two victims of racism being written up for something I consider to be very petty, something like a time clock, where we have these old school time clocks where you stick the documents in and they get this purple color stamp on it. And apparently it had been unplugged or something like that. And these two black females were written up because of that, and something about some kind of probate paperwork that was really that was given to a white woman to be responsible to do. And they, I think racists, were able to pass it off on some black people to do. And the manager of the two victims is a black female. And I think when I heard the report, I think that, and maybe this may be at other jobs or whatever.
Q&A session is over.
May I be heard?
Q&A session has started.
Oh, yes, we can hear you.
Yes, sir. And what I think what was going on was that the black female supervisor had been, I guess, like reprimanding, I guess I could use that word, the white staff, some of the white staff in the department. And I'm thinking she targeted the two black people for something that she wouldn't do to the white people. And I guess it got reversed when they would go talk to a white person in charge. And then I guess the whole area went quiet and nobody was really speaking or anything like that. But these are the same two people that work at the front counter. And the third black person who worked there longer, I think was out that day, but had been informed about this. The next one I'd like to share is that victim was in the middle of assisting a customer, and a white woman, I think another clique white woman, a manager in the area, called her on the phone and made a comment in a humorous manner that I was told, like, laughing. Oh, well, these people's last names are Coon, like, you know what I mean? So she said, this white woman said, whoever the person named that she was reading on a paper or document for a case, last name was Coon or Coons. So she said she still was able to maintain her composure or whatever, and didn't really give her much of a response. Like, oh, well, what is it you said again? I didn't really hear you. And she repeated it again, and she just pretty much just said, oh, well, I'm in the middle of helping someone. and the white woman hung up the phone. So I definitely made sure that she wrote that one down. The next one I'd like to share is, again, with the two white women that I work with in the department and how they engage with black people, or the difference of how they engage with white people and black people. Now, it was the passport photo session going on, and there was a young black child just sitting and getting photos taken and everything. So we were still trying to get the camera to function correctly. And I had to go and assist another customer, and I was able to overhear something. The mother said when she took the photo of her, or the white woman was taking a photo of her, I guess she said something was ugly or something like that, and then she said the photo of the child was ugly, that she didn't like it. And the child said, "You are ugly." She said that to the mom, and the white woman was laughing at it, you know. And I was helping a customer at the time that this was said. So they ended up getting the photos taken and everything. And I could just tell that the two white women, you know, they enjoyed that kind of interaction between two black people. And that same white woman made the comment, "Oh, well, do you want to go home with me?" Saying that to the little child, like, while taking the photograph. Oh, you know, two children that love to play with you or whatever, you know. And I still think the person is a racist, but I think she tries to, again, function in these ways and making sure I'm around with these black customers, so it can come off convince me that she isn't someone to be suspected or anything like that. And I have one more I'd like to share. I was doing this experiment of the last 5 years of like all of the black people that was hired from 2020 to about 2020, I guess 2025. Only 3 black males, 21 black females, and I wanted to share that, and that's all I have to share. Thanks for allowing me to speak.
How many black females was it?
21.
21. Dang. Well, black male privilege. Let's see. He said that they had the 2 black females. Were they hired in the last 5 years, or they've been there longer than that? The ones who were falsely accused?
Has been hired.
Sorry.
One of them has been hired within the last 5 years, and the other, I would say, a little outside of that time period. They were like 2018.
Okay. He didn't say nothing like the warden, all these folks that's been retired, and they've been working there for like 35 years, 30 years, all that stuff. He didn't. Nah. So got the 2 black females. Sounds like they worked in the segregated section. And they get blamed, if I heard it correctly, for, we're going to say that these nigger women are incompetent when this is an assignment that white people, a white person specifically, was supposed to do, and they did not. It seems like they shirked it off on these black females, and then we're going to blame them for this not being done. This was something that white people basically were irresponsible about, procrastinated, whatever, failed to do to begin with. And so these black females, maybe black self-respect, They don't just hang their head in shame and, oh, right, we'll just accept it and do it. No, apparently they challenged all this. Say, wait a minute now. Y'all didn't do this to begin with, whomever the white person was. There was a failure prior to, and now y'all trying to shove this off on us and blame us for whatever it is not being done. And I guess the evidence revealed that that was true. And he said, the crickets. Why would that be? Especially if, hey, everybody was being honest and we were trying to do the correct thing. And we looked at the evidence honestly and thought, hey, Lakeisha, Juanita, they were doing the correct thing. They weren't being shiftless niggers. Well, they were probably being shiftless niggers, but they were not being shiftless on this specific project. We got some shiftless white people. Okay, we'll go get them. Sorry, y'all. We'll get it. You got another half-eaten bag of peanut M&Ms? We don't have. Okay. Well, we'll get y'all next time around. Don't even worry about it. They could have done that. Apologies. They could have done it. You got all that tacky. We'll text about this later. Man, come on. It doesn't get any better than tacky. Sit around and sabotage. The lowest of these aren't the black people that run the courthouse. We're going to sit around and lie and blame it on their fault this didn't get done. Really? Well, no, not really. But still, we were going to try. It's not even funny. It's so tacky. This is every workplace, by the way. So really, instead of snickering, it should be, what are the details? Like, what did these black females do? Did they just go in and ask questions? Did they demand an investigation? Like, what did they do? We need to do more of that. If they were able to get everybody to shut up, acknowledge that, no, we are not shiftless. We've been doing our job. We got some shiftless white people here, right? Right. Coon. We're going to Then they get to the phone. Now, white people are supposed to be ignorant about racism. See, they get on the phone. Look here. We got customers. They dialed in. Last name is. Look here. Last name is Coons. I'm not making it. It's right here. It's on the page. Coons. Why is that funny? What's the joke? At minimum, is this professional at the courthouse? Now, imagine if those black females, someone had came into the courthouse, last name Whitey, Cracker. Imagine one of them, girl, last name, customer came in for a passport today, Whitey. I lost it. I couldn't. Look here, Whitey. Now imagine that at the courthouse. Somebody walking, all of them fired. Whole segregated area. Everybody fired. They ain't gonna be on it. And I'm still. What's funny about? What's the snicker? Like, okay, coons. Next. White people ignorant about racism. Let's see. The black month doesn't get any better than tacky. They come in for the passport photo. I guess these are passport photos, whatever photos. Come in for the photos. Little black fella is sitting there, and I guess they're having whatever difficulty getting the photo. And she said the picture was ugly the first time she took it, and the child tells the mom, "You're ugly." And you know, children, especially when they're babies, they feisty or just repeat whatever said and all the rest of it being silly. Child says that he says that the white women at work is, "Oh, look at that. I love it." He said she's ugly. Have a white woman in Florida, no less. State of the cracker. Do you want to go home with me? Lord Jesus. Like, no. Nah. Even that, like, I don't know. I mean, You can say that sometimes females, especially, they'll ooh and ah and coo and play with a child, but I mean, really. Imagine our caller, white child, you pick, boy or girl. Oh, you want to come home with me? Man, they gonna mash that panic button so fast, boy, the deputies be in there and nigger knock. You don't touch that white child. It's just hard for me to imagine that. Like, and I mean with the tackiness that they have in the office, like, really? Get away from my child, man. Let's just get the photo done and, back up. Give me 5 feet, man. Back up. He said he did an experiment over a 5-year period, basically since the Rona. I do my experiment when black people have been hired. 3 black dudes. 3 black dudes. 21 black females. I do not begrudge employment opportunities to anyone, but wow. 3 black dudes. They tell me the black male privilege is out there. Maybe it's a little weak in North Florida. I don't know, but I have a hard time believing it is so difficult to find any black dude. I mean, you can go get white women who can't even type, and they can get a job. You can go find white people who can't even be bothered to show up for the interview. They can get a job. You can get white people who the coworkers think they are incompetent. They can get a job. How in the world? You could train. Like, oh my God, you could go out and find black people who are almost qualified. Say, hey, Leroy, look at here. We're going to get a remedial class. We're going to catch you up. We're going to train you up. And because we need a few extra folks at the court. Warden can't work forever. See, you got these white, they retiring left and right. These folks going to have to be replaced. So, Leroy, look at here. We're going to train you up. They got colleges all around, University of Florida. I know they got to have at least 1 or 2 niggers who can read. That right there. Can you type? Hey, come on in. 3. And he said this is over a 5-year period, so that means they don't even hire 1 Negro male per year. Whew. Black male. Remember he said it was a 60-year-old black dude came in the courthouse and the cops were ready to pull their guns out on him and shoot him. And he was walking, I think he was with his wife too. He was walking in because he was, I guess, taller, whatever that means. He was taller and he was walking in like, oh yeah, honey, what we gonna have to, whoa, I'ma behave. I didn't come to rape, I promise. I'ma behave. All right. I'ma walk slow. Whoosh. Almost, Jesus Lord.
I don't want to say this too loud. I think it might have been racism. I just want to be careful on that. I'm like, why you have to lower your voice? Just say, I mean,
Black male privilege. Black male privilege. Black male privilege. He didn't ask for a job. I want to be clear. He didn't even get an opportunity. Maybe he was coming to see if he could get a job. Maybe he did need employment, but from what I recall, he didn't get that far. He barely got a toe in the courthouse. It is, whoa, Leroy. Watch out now. You walk slow. Mind you, behave yourself. He didn't get an opportunity to misbehave, but behave yourself. We're going to keep an eye on you. So I'm going to walk slow. I definitely ain't going to say nothing about no racism. I'm going to be quiet and peaceful. Yes. Yeah, he was older too. It wasn't even like he was 20-year-olds and full of vigor and testosterone and, ooh, I'll get excited delirium and kill everyone. He was like 60. He said he had his gray hair. He was like a grandfather. Woo. Black male privilege at the courthouse in North Florida. Wow. I remember the black fella came in there and he was trying to get his paperwork and such. And he said, man, that's all right, black brother. I'm proud of you. You out here working at the courthouse and doing your thing. And wow, I couldn't imagine having a job up here and working here at the court. I couldn't. Wow, brother, I'm proud. It's good to see you, brother. 3 Negro males over there. Yeah, he was absolutely correct. Like, wow, that is stunning. I never thought I'd see somebody look like me up at the court. I mean, maybe in handcuffs or something, but wow, working at the court, really? That's the most amazing. That's like seeing a bear ride a tricycle or something. Like, wow, let me take a picture, black brother. Let me get to see. Wow, look at that. That's amazing. Black male privilege. Woo, man. I don't know what to say, man. I don't know what to say. Do you think Negro males, do you think that they don't apply to the courthouse? Do you think some of this is Leroy's fault because we're, out drinking Mad Dog or doing whatever? We just don't come to the courthouse to actually apply to work there?
I'm not entirely sure. I did mention it a few years ago, and after I mentioned it, it was 2 black guys got hired the same year. So I guess it was just like a response to that. And I think the last guy was hired in 2023 when I looked through some older emails, and that guy was hired over in the civil area. Then he transferred to another area, the archive records, and then they tried to sabotage him, bring him back to the cashier, and then try to get him to do all of these kind of other jobs and tasks, but they didn't ask the white dude to do it. So he ended up speaking up for himself and being able to. He got to go back to the job that he was doing before.
Speak up for yourself in the workplace. That's what I've learned from the courthouse this week. The black ladies who they were going to try and blame them for the lazy white people. And then, spoke up for the day. You go. And we got it from the black man. They try and mess you all around and throw you over here and throw you over. What was I hired to do? Let me go back there. Like, they're going to say, see, got another one of these uppity Negro males in here. I'm going to have some black self-respect. You don't mistreat me. No more Leroy's until 2026. We're good. We're not, no more. That. Leroy, get on out. And nope, we don't have no openings for no Leroy's, no Jamals, no Dantes. Get on out of here. 2026, maybe we'll pick up another Leroy. And we'll see if we can get rid of 1 or 2 of the ones we got, and then we'll, trade out. got quotas here. We got quotas here, so we don't take on too many Negro males. Wow, black male privilege. Well, that is probably everybody should have an experiment, and that's something simple. You can just go back, especially the places they got public records. Non-Clemson dad had talked about that before. We could know the salaries and that sort of thing. All of us should have some sort of counter-racism experiment project for the workplace where you can be analyzing another way information that you can show. I mean, that's just, wow, the data. We do not hire Negro males at the courthouse, period. Lots of other places too. But experiments, who gets hired, who gets fired, it's all types of things that you could be evaluating in the workplace. But make notes and really be observant. Same thing where I was saying with non-Clemson dad. He could hear that fella telling him, you over there misbehaving? You over there raping? He could hear all that. He didn't say, I was in here, man, I got that Kendrick Lamar, boy. I was in here jamming. Man. No. You can have your earbuds on. I think caller at the courthouse in Florida, same thing. I'll maybe have one earbud on just to do the old fake on them where they think I'm listening, to OK Dot. Nah. I'm not listening to them. I'm listening to you all around here talking racism and trying to blame us. See, that's what it's sad that you got to say that, but We are not in a safe environment. We're in a system of white supremacy, racism. If you're in the workplace, man, you need to be aware of what's happening around, what's being said around you, what's being said about you. Pay attention. You can listen to Kendrick Lamar later. Never, maybe. Anywho, we will not be here tomorrow for the book club because Gus T will be at the 51st Annual Seattle International Film Festival. But updates will be coming about all the racism at the festival. Hopefully it'll be safe, fun, my last hurrah to enjoy Seattle before the hell of Milwaukee. But we'll give updates, check social media. I'll let folks know what I see and all the racism on the big screen from the festival. I'll also have updates about the wacky broadcast schedule for May. Just know that the somewhat stabilization will come once I hit Milwaukee, because then we'll just have daily updates about what in the world is going on at the trial murder of Sade C. Robinson every day while we are in Milwaukee, Dahmer land. Much obliged for folks tuning in. Hopefully it'll be constructive. You can let me know if Gus T is wasting time with all this in Milwaukee and such, but hopefully it'll be constructive. Fuller certainly thought Dahmer was an important lesson, illustration of white supremacy, racism. The Sade Robinson murder, I think, is as well. Sobriety would be best under conditions of white supremacy. I do not think you need to go and have a drink with a coworker if they decide to leave a job. That does not call for a toast of alcoholic beverage. Preserve our brain computer as best we can. Creator, we ask that you help us maximize our time and energy to replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Remind us not to waste non-white people's time and energy, especially our own. No name calling. Black people. No gossiping. No throwaway offspring. Replace white supremacy with justice immediately. Cal signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
Nigga, you so brainwashed. I'm a victim, brother. Problem. You're a victim. Yeah. I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning. Shut up. The man has programmed my condition. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.